The fight for the championship lies squarely in the hands of 8 drivers, with elimination at stake at the fastest track in the Irish Hills. We're live from the virtual Michigan International Raceway. The stage is set for the final race in the round of 8 for the Season 6 Sunoco Cup Series playoffs with the Michigan 240. Welcome to coverage on Podium Esports. We're alongside Joey Atterbury in the booth. My name is Kenneth Bueno. Bradley Cooper is our producer tonight. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. Well, Joey, we are here one race until we get to the championship at Homestead, Miami next Sunday night. For 8 drivers, this story is almost ready to be closed off. For 7, they're not locked in. For 1, he's chilling on the way to Miami. For all the others, it looks like desperation is going to start to rise as they get into this final race.
I think you named it right. Austin Reedy out there with the 1 win. He's the only one that's solidified to that Miami Homestead round. So I'm curious, which other 3 are going to join him? And unfortunately, which 4 are pretty much going to end their points championship tonight?
And you look at the playoff grid, Austin Reedy with that phenomenal win. His first one of the season at Richmond last Sunday. He's onwards to Homestead, Miami to fight for a Sunoco Cup Series championship. And then you look at all the others, Joey, and the one thing that you notice, of course, those 4 that are lodged beneath the cut line that are at risk of elimination, among those is championship favorite Mario Miranda in the 99. We did not expect him to be down here. Richmond did not go his way at all, turned into an abysmal race, and now he is more than 30 points out trying to get his way in. What's going to be the keys for those guys below the cut line as we get into this race?
Well, I think specifically for Miranda is just do what you know you can do, and that's win a race. Remember, on the all-time wins list, he is up there at number 2, 18 wins total. So Mario Miranda is plenty capable of finding the checkered flag, finding victory lane here today. For everybody else, I think you got to have that same mindset, is that you go out, you win, and you make it to Miami. If you're not winning, you better be in the top 3. Maybe, hopefully, secure your chances there without one.
Yeah, 100%. And for those guys above the cut line, they're not quite safe either. They're going to have to play a bit of defense if they want to stay atop of the cut line and be a part of that championship for when we get to Homestead Miami Speedway. Well, we're still in pre-race. We're going to try and bring in a couple of drivers as they give us their perspectives in the playoffs. And we'll start off with the driver of the number 5 car, Ross Harlow, driver of the Chevrolet, finished inside the top 5 last week at the Richmond Raceway, and he'll be joining us in a couple of moments. Let's bring in Ross Harlow, driver of the 5. And Ross, I mean, you come into these playoffs right around that cut line. In fact, right below it to Steven Stepien by around 4 points. What's your strategy at a track this big, especially coming off of Richmond last Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, just gonna have to race smart. Gotta, go for everything we can in the stages. It's so tight between Stempy and myself, and Wyatt's right there. Colin's not too far out. Got to be aggressive, but just got to be aware of where the bumpers are, right?
That's definitely true. And I know bumpers probably are going to be a little hard to deal here at this track, in specifics that it's not a short track, it's a way larger circuit. How different do you have to approach this type of race in the playoff context versus, let's say, last week at Richmond where the track was way shorter, cars were a lot closer in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, Richmond, you could be a lot more aggressive, going in the corners. Even if somebody got a slide, it wasn't necessarily going to be a huge accident. I mean, you saw, I got that bump from Stempy and I was able to hold on to it, and nobody wrecked, at least as a result from that. But here, somebody makes a mistake, you have such a finite time to react. I mean, we're entering turn 1 at 200 mile an hour. Just got to keep the head on a swivel and leave room. And we really don't have a lot of tire here. We've only got, I think, 3 sets in the pits. So, I got to really take care of them here for the long runs and, see if maybe we can play some fuel strategy at the end too.
That's definitely true. And as you come into this race, I know you're still the only SKM driver that is still in the Sunoco Cup Series playoffs. Number 1, does that add a little more pressure for you to make it all the way to the championship round? And number 2, are you looking for a little bit of assistance by those guys, given the fact that this track is a little draft heavy?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's definitely that added pressure, right? It's you got to represent the team and represent them well. Um, had a really good season so far with all those guys, and I would not be, where I am. I wouldn't be anywhere near as far as I've gotten without those guys, without the help that they've given me and the input that we've been able to share. Um, yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to be, at least I hope, helping me out. I'm never going to ask somebody to move out of my way or give room or anything like that. But at the same time, hopefully we can work together and at least push us, one more spot forward, one more race and one more spot, and see if maybe we can bring home another championship for SKM.
Trying to take that next step to go to the championship 4 at Homestead, Miami next Sunday. Ross, we certainly appreciate the time. We continue to wish you the best of luck throughout tonight's race and through the rest of this season. And best of luck as we head to this race here for Michigan as you wind down in practice.
Yeah, thanks, Kenneth. I appreciate it, sir.
That is Ross Harlow, driver of the 5 for SKM, looking to get another Sunoco Cup Series championship. He is 4 spots below, 4 points rather, below Steven Stempien. That's around the cut line. Let's talk to the other driver who is also around that cut line. In fact, he's on the other side of it with Ross Harlow. That is the driver of the number 81, Steven Stempien, 40G. And Steven, I can imagine you are confident and your car is very fast, top of the board in practice right now. At this moment in time, what's going through your head as you try to hold on to one of the last spots into the championship 4 tonight?
Yeah, man, it's tight, man. It's nerve-wracking a little bit, man. But you can't. You just try to run your own race, right? And just try to stay clean. I hope all my bad lucks in the past from Texas and Pocono, and I get some good luck on my side here up in Michigan. So get a little luck of the Irish here in the Irish Hills.
Well, you certainly had a really good playoffs up to this point. A little bit of downs, but a lot of ups in terms of the way you've been performing consistency-wise. And before we talk a little bit more about the championship fight, I want to talk about this paint scheme. Dakota was in our chat a little bit earlier, and he said that he made the logo for the Drop in the Hammer podcast. Number one, the car looks beautiful. The logo looks great. And talk to us about that just a little bit.
Yeah, man, I'm hyped up to have this on the Ford Mustang tonight. Me and Dakota got kind of the same scheme tonight. Just reverse colors. We sat up a couple of nights ago, just thinking of a logo, and two painters getting together, and this is what happened. So, pretty excited to this. I hope this brings me some luck tonight too. But it looks pretty clean. I love the green. Reminds me of the Dale Jr. Batman from Michigan. That's a good omen, actually. I didn't even think about that. So I'm looking forward to it, man. It's clean. It's clean, very clean. I'm excited. Obviously we got a good thing going with dropping the hammer on Monday nights. We'll be back tomorrow night. Even if I'm out, we're gonna be back on talking about how upset I am or happy I am. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to this race tonight. I've had a lot of luck and success at Michigan, so I'm hoping it continues.
Now, of course, the clean scheme, and we saw Dakota there right next to it a little bit ago. So, I mean, the both matching schemes surely fit for tonight's race at Michigan. Final question before we let you get over to qualifying in about a minute or so. How do you try to attack this track? Richmond last week, we saw a lot of physicality, obviously saving tires. You talked about it was a big priority. Is tonight the same, or are you looking for different factors that could help you get to the win this evening?
Yeah, I mean, last week you were obviously, if you were in the lead, you saw it. Reedy had clean air, and once you were behind him, you couldn't do anything. You couldn't pass up high, and this is the same reason why the NASCAR guys are testing this week. Taking the diffuser off and all this stuff because it's just you can't do anything, right? You're going to see a little bit more racing tonight with this package because obviously the draft is dominant, but you're going to see some tire wear too, and we only got 3 sets. So you got to stay clean. You get involved in a wreck and you lock them up, you're kind of SOL with 3 sets of tires. So this is a long race, 120. Perseverance, man. I didn't even say that right, but just trying to make it to the long run. That's all, man. Drop the hammer, baby.
Yeah, drop the hammer. That's the perfect mindset for a race like this as you try to get into the championship 4. Steven, we'll let you get over to qualifying. Best of luck in tonight's Michigan 240.
Hey, thank you, guys. Hopefully I'll be talking to you later.
All right, that is Steven Stepien, driver of the number 81. He's got the top of the board in practice locked up. We'll see if he can try and carry that momentum over into qualifying and, of course, to the green flag. Joey, let's talk a little bit about this Michigan International Speedway over in Brooklyn, Michigan. This track seems to hold the best of both worlds when it comes to racing in these stock cars. You got the draft of a super speedway, the speed of it as well, but you also have the corners of an intermediate track. It's a very unique one, much like Auto Club.
Yeah, it's kind of like its twin over there in California, but this one been around for quite some time. The turns banked at 18 degrees, 2 miles in length. So you're right, not classified as a 2.5 mile super speedway, but with the packages that are running here, trust me, it is incredibly fast. Like you said, the draft is going to come into play huge here during the race. It's going to manage also the dirty air through 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you're going to have to do a couple things with that air today, not just manage the draft, but manage the dirty air as well. And I think there's one word here: fast. Fast, fast, fast.
Yeah, it is really fast. This track owned by Roger Penske, I mean, built for cars to go fast around it. Here's a look at our race analysis for tonight's Michigan 240. Hence, we have the name 240 miles, 386.28 kilometers. We go a total distance of 120 laps. And here are how the stages are going to settle out. We have 35 laps for both stage 1 and stage number 2. That final stint all the way to the end, cranking in about 50 laps to get us to the checkered. Of course, every single week we have 3 green-white checkered attempts if we need to extend this race. There are no fast repairs, and we do have fixed setups across the board. No fast repairs is going to be big at a track this fast, like you said, Joey, and like Steven alluded to earlier. If you get into a wreck, things are really going to be tough for you, and that could alter the complexion of a championship run to Homestead next Sunday. Drivers in qualifying right now at around 8 minutes and 10 seconds left, so we still got a little bit of time for these drivers to get out on track and put in their best 2 laps, and we've got Steven Stepien among those out on track already. But Joey, by yourself on the racetrack, what is going to be the key here to try and put in a very fast lap to put yourself at the front to start?
I think it's going to be a little bit of a super speedway style of qualifying where you really get the car rung up on that first lap. Try to carry as much momentum as you can, and then when it comes time for your heater, really slingshot that thing off at turn 4. And then going into turn 1, I mean, just hold on to the thing, because I'm looking at the speeds right now. They are approaching 195 miles an hour by themselves into these corners. So it really is throw the thing into the corner, hope that you've got the aero grip in the front, hope that the front end sticks through the middle and you can roll onto that throttle nicely, because it is 2 miles around here. You want to be on the gas.
You really want to, and momentum is going to be big too when you've got all the draft around you. If you mess up in a corner, everyone's going to be on your tail ready to get around you if need be, so you got to be really careful, and hence why we may see the high speeds and maybe some of the drama come up as a result. Drivers putting in times in qualifying as it stands. We'll have the ticker on the left side of your screen to give you the updates, but so far it's rookie Colin Forrester at the top with a 38.738. And Joey, boy, has he been good all playoffs long, and in fact all season as a rookie driver in this Sunoco Cup Series, looking to enter his first ever Championship 4 appearance. And right now at the top of the board, Richard Swabley and Zach Wilson, pair of non-playoff drivers, also with good times as well.
Yeah, I think you got to go all the way back there to 4th, 5th, 6th place before you get kind of your group of playoff drivers with Miranda, Harlow, Stepien. But you're right, Colin Forrester sitting there 3rd in the points coming into today. So he is above that cut line. He's taken the momentum in qualifying. We'll see if it transfers into the big show.
It just needs a good run tonight, and he should be okay to make it to Homestead, Miami. Defending champ Lawson Peel also out on track, going in for his second and final lap in qualifying, and he puts in a 38.836, so not quite enough to crack the top 5, but the number 12 Chevrolet for Drinkin' Bros Racing, he'll be in P6. Peel, a 2-time winner in a row over the last 3 weeks. He didn't win at Richmond, but he won at Pocono and Texas. Has a lot of momentum on his side and is the driver highest on point standings if we're counting in terms of the playoff group and how that's all going to settle out. There are some more drivers on the track as it stands, one of them being the 54 of Brandon Banks. He just ended his qualifying run, and how about, looks like the number 14, Austin Shoemaker, driver for Prestige Worldwide Racing, out next.
Yeah, Shoemaker going down the back straightaway here, going into turn number 3 at Michigan International Speedway. Looking down the board here, couple ones that I'm noticing. I'm noticing Wyatt Brackett a little bit further down than probably where he wants to be in qualifying. The other one that I'm waiting for right now, let's go down the list. Austin Reedy has still to qualify as well.
Well, Austin Reedy seems to be kind of big chilling right now, Joey. No, I mean, he got the win last week at Richmond. He doesn't have to worry about the chaos that could arise here at Michigan and all the drafts and the crashes that could go about. He can just kind of hang in here, and no matter what lap he puts in, he seems to be fine. I guess he's just waiting for the track temp to drop a little bit and he can put in his time.
I don't blame him. And as we ride on board with the number 14, you see this high line. This is, I think, what's really going to be utilized to set up these qualifying laps here at Michigan International Speedway. Take the long way around the racetrack, really wring the RPMs out of the car, get the maximum speed you can to go flying off into your lap.
Yeah, 100%. And the 14 goes in for his second lap, and you see him right there on that first seam. He's not quite at that yellow line at the bottom of the racetrack, and that's mostly what we're going to see this evening, whether cars are by themselves or in the draft. You don't want to be all the way at the very bottom, but you do want to be at around that first seam that is closest to the bottom. We'll see other drivers experiment with different lanes, and that obviously brings a lot of fun as well. But here comes the 14 out of turn 4. His first lap, a 31.9.137, but this lap should be way faster. We'll see what he puts in. It looks like as he crosses the stripe, this one way better, in fact, 38.871. That puts him right behind the number 12 of Lawson Peel. So that puts Shoemaker in 7th place, as there is the 96 of Austin Reedy, the man with the golden ticket to Homestead, Miami. No worries, but I'm surprised here, Joey, that we're seeing a lot of non-playoff drivers break into this top 10, and we're seeing Richard Swavely with a fantastic qualifying time to put him second. Zach Wilson, who's kind of been out of the series for a couple of weeks. He's missed the last couple of races. He's in with a 3rd place starting spot right now. Shoemaker's in the top 10. Gary Sexton is here as well. Jesse Whittington. How many times have we said his name over the last 3 or so weeks? Non-playoff drivers making the statement in these last couple of events.
And I think it's even though they're not fighting for that big time trophy out there, it's still the positive momentum that you can carry into next season. It's also just the confidence as a driver. Can you go out there and beat these playoff contenders? Because if you can, it just gives you confidence to show up that next week, show up that next season, and up your game even more.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, next season is going to be really exciting for those guys if they get really good qualifying times and even race finishes or race wins. We haven't seen a non-playoff driver break into victory lane mostly over the course of these playoffs. It's always been a driver running for the championship, but you never know. Late in the season, some playoff drivers might get a little comfortable with non-playoff drivers around them, and some of those guys might take advantage, be able to take the win away in these last 2 races. Here's the 96, Austin Reedy, ready for his second lap. So this is his first one as he comes across the back straightaway. I think he's wiggling the car there, Joey. Not sure if that's to freshen up the tires or maybe get him a little warm, but he's going to race all the way to the high side, put in a lap. We'll see if it's quick enough to beat Colin Forrest.
Yeah, and traditionally in the real world, what you would do with the weaving of the tires is, yes, it does clean off the tires, but it also provides heat into them. And in the warm-up laps, in qualifying, it's important to get the tires up to temperature. That way you can get the maximum grip out of the car. And I was noticing the other playoff contender, Garrett Brown, he waited all the way to the end. He was able to pop it in the top 10, 7th spot.
Yeah, great starting spot for Garrett Brown in the 16 as he tries to continue his run all the way to Homestead, Miami. We do have what appears to be everyone going for a qualifying time, so this is nice to see. Here's the number 46, Joseph Mahar for SK Sim Racing, and he already crossed the line for his second and final lap. It was a 39.180, so that puts him in 27th. But as far as I'm concerned, almost everybody is going out for a qualifying time. The only ones that are not are Chris Progar in the 7, and Brad Fulham in the number 19. Here's the 48. Alex Muscarella crossed the line. 39.199, so that'll put him in 30th place, so just inside the top 30, and I think that should be it, Joey, for qualifying. Any surprises you noted there around this qualifying session, or is this status quo for what we should expect for this evening?
I think I was a little surprised earlier on when we didn't have as many playoff contenders inside the top 10, but as it settled out with qualifying coming to a wrap here, I think we got about 6 of our 8 playoff contenders inside that top 10. It's shaping up quite nicely.
It looks to be a really fun race here from Michigan. Drivers are set to bring us the green flag of the Michigan 240. Let's get you trackside to bring you the starting grid as we close off the round of 8 for the Season 6 Sunoco Cup Series playoffs. It is rookie Colin Forrester looking for an entrance into the championship for next Sunday. He's got the fastest time at a 38.738. He'll be joined by non-playoff driver Richard Swavely for SheriffStrafe.com Racing. Got to imagine the Sheriff Strafe community going absolutely wild as Richard looks for a win this season. Zach Wilson in the 51 returns to competition with a blazing time at a 38.782. He'll be inside the top 3 alongside him. Mario Miranda needing to execute tonight if he wants to make it to the championship round next Sunday. He starts in P4. Ross Harlow in the number 5 car is in the P5 spot, so funny enough, he's there. Lawson Peel, defending champion, alongside him. He's going to be joining him in row number 3. That is P6. Another playoff driver, Garrett Brown in the number 16, puts his Ford Mustang into 7th to start tonight's event. And Austin Shoemaker rounding out the top 8. He'll be at the exit of row number 4. Steven Stepien starts tonight inside the top 9 with a drop in the Hammer Ford Mustang. And Gary Sexton, 0G teammate Joey, rounds out the top 10.
Here in 11th place, Jesse Whittington in that number 94 machine on row number 8. Chris Shoemaker going to be joined next to him in the 12th spot. Warren Kyle Keith in the number 24 will be starting in 13th with Curtis Kelly alongside of him there on row number 7. Sean Kalist in the number 43 in 15th position. Parker Bland in 16th next to him. Dakota Curtis here in the number 10 machine in 17th. Kip Easley joined next to him on row number 8 there. Aaron Adcock in 19th, and Brandon Banks rounding out the top 20 in the number 54 car.
21st will be Logan Sturgeon in the 26. He's joined by Isaac Mock. That'll be row number 11 here from Michigan. Wyatt Brackett, playoff driver in a very, very precarious scenario. He's going to have to work from the 23rd starting position. Justin Miller will be alongside him in P24. Ray Rogers in the number 11 is 25th to start tonight's event. Bill Schoonover will be alongside him in P26. That is going to be row number 13. Now behind them, the number 46 of Joseph Mohar, 27th. 28th will go to the number 20 of Justin Erb. James Kunkel is 29th in the 3 car. Alex Muscarella with a time good enough for the top 30. And then that brings us to the final 5 drivers in our field tonight. Travis Stevens in 31st. Charles Feltz in 32nd in the 75 car. Austin Reedy with the 33rd place qualifying time, although he's locked into Homestead next week. Chris Pogar alongside him in 34th, and rounding out our field, the 35 position. That is the 19 car of Brad Fulham. So Joey, you just mentioned it, and I just noticed as well, the number 96, Austin Reedy, you don't see him on track because he disconnected with a packet loss issue. I think he's thanking his lucky stars that he's got to win to lock him into Homestead, because that would have been really tough if he had not been in on the win.
Agreed. And you know, to draw a parallel to real racing, trust me, you get out on pre-grid, you go to fire the car, and sometimes it doesn't fire, and you panic. What do? That's exactly what Austin Reedy is dealing with.
It's kind of like the anxiety of just starting the race, and then when you have that problem come up, you're like, oh, that is not good at all. But for Reedy, hopefully he can rejoin in just a couple of moments, and hopefully we do end up squaring this field out to the point where that number 96 can rejoin in the right place. So pace car makes its way down to the entrance of pit road. It'll be the number 31 of Colin Forrester and the 32 of Richard Swavely to bring us to the green. The round of 8 ends tonight from Michigan. Green flag in the air. Oh, never mind. Looks like we're going to go another lap.
Yeah, I was just about to jump in there. It looks like we have extended one more pace lap here at Michigan International Speedway. And I think the reason being, Kenneth, is some of those cars were a little late coming off of pit road, and the pace car was definitely hauling the mail, it seemed.
Oh, well, the pace car, I guess, getting a little bit ahead of itself. There it is, back on the racetrack, rejoining the field, and I think that does help Austin Reedy get back in shape, because as he's trying to reconnect and as they have this extra pace lap, then he should be okay. So jumping the gun here there, we'll go another lap here from Michigan. We'll see what we can do as we bring this field to the green flag. Colin Forrester, an outstanding pole time. He's going to be looking to enter his first ever championship 4. And Richard Swavely trying to spoil the party on the outside. It looks like this is Going to be a really good matchup. And I think, Joey, I mean, when you look at a track like Michigan that is so heavily reliant on draft, these non-playoff drivers just have extra incentive to go for. We're probably going to see 3, 4 wide and sometimes maybe 5 wide, depending on what happens here.
I think it depends on each racer's personality and how they want to attack this place. But we mentioned it pre-races that these non-playoff drivers, they're still competing for a win. Even though they're not in the championship per se, it is still a win at the end of today.
Yeah, that's true. And a win for a playoff driver gets you into the Homestead Miami. And everyone else is trying to rip it away from the 31 of Colin Forrester, who will have control. Now we'll get the green flag here from Michigan. Pace car is down. And the number 31 of Forrester will bring him to the restart zone. And to Barney the Flagman, the Michigan 240 is underway for the Sunoco Cup Series playoffs. Forrester leads him through lap number 1. Miranda slips into 3rd. Got around the 51 of Zach Wilson before turn 1 of lap number 2. Richard Swavely trying to break the 31's momentum. Trying to get underneath, but so far the field is clean and green from Michigan. A bit of shakeups around the back half of the top 10, but everything seems to be okay down the back straightaway.
I think you called it. The top 10 really single file here, relatively well-mannered, and then, oh my goodness, it spreads out 2, 3. I'm even seeing some 4 wide on the first lap a little bit further back. It just gets dirtier and dirtier with the air the further back you go.
Yeah, that's true. You got to make sure you take care of those Goodyear Eagles because they could wash away in a moment's notice. We're seeing 3 wide at around the back half of the top 20. That's the 30 of Wyatt Brackett in the middle of all this. Remember, he is one of those playoff drivers below the cut line in this event, so he needs to pick it up from where he started back in 23rd. He's already up 6 spots and make that now 7 spots as he continues to move up through the field. And Joey, right now, Wyatt is on a mission as he moves into 14th.
Well, and how he's doing that, look at him. He's way up top around Michigan here, and that provides you some incredible momentum and top speed when it comes to these long straightaways, especially the front straightaway, where you can also pretty much put out the fishing line, get a reel, get the tow from the car in front of you.
And he's getting the tow from the 4 of Chris Shoemaker. He goes all the way to the high side, and Dakota Curtis tries to split them. They're 4 wide in the middle of turns 1 and 2. This is around 12th place. Parker Bland stuck in the middle of all that. Boy, Brackett has to be really careful. He's going to stay behind the other Shoemaker. That's Austin in the number 14. As the top 10 starts to break away quite a bit, and Mario Miranda up front takes the lead as Brackett continues to try and make position up.
Well, I think that Wyatt out there is showing what kind of demeanor he's got on the racetrack today, and it is forward at all costs. He's using the bumper, using all the lanes. He wants to get to the front.
You know what? I don't think he cares about using the tires this early in the race because he knows if it's going to get him track position, if it's going to get him those crucial points needed to stay alive in this championship fight, he's going to do it by all means necessary. Battle for around the top 5. That's Jesse Whittington. All the way at the bottom of the track, he tried to slip right in front of the 12 of Lawson Field. Could not do it. Here's the 5 of Harlow. Looks like underneath the number 32 of Richard Swavely, he's starting to fall off quite a bit despite the strong start to tonight's race, and Miranda still holding on to control. And Miranda here, Joey, the biggest story in terms of this playoff field, if we're not talking about guys like Wyatt Brackett moving up to the field or even Garrett Brown into 16, Miranda came into this round with a head of steam, looked like he was going to be a championship favorite, and then boom came Richmond. A good start to the race, got into it with a lap car, then just went multiple laps down and could not recover. He is dead last in the playoff standings tonight. He needs to execute more than anyone else, probably needs to win.
And I mentioned it before the race here, Mario Miranda is plenty capable of advancing himself to Miami tonight based on the win. I mean, he's got, what, 18 wins here in the Sunoco series, so he is plenty familiar with leading races, winning races, having the pressure on. It's just, can he get it done here tonight when it counts?
Yeah, that's that's true. One of the all-time leaders in Sunoco Cup Series wins. But last time we were here at Michigan, that was back in August of 2022. Miranda came home in 12th. Not the best run, but also not the worst. Miranda, though, needs to be at top shape if he wants to make sure he advances to home status. Here comes the 31 of Colin Forrester moving inside as you watch the battle at around the mid-pack. But here comes the 31. Diving to the bottom, sliding up in turns 3 and 4. Joey, that's a typical slide job, but it works. Colin Forrester back to the lead.
We'll see if Miranda decides to go out or push Forrester here. Looks like he's going to decide to stay in line, and I think that's kind of a roll of the dice here. You have the opportunity to use the draft and really use the side draft also down the front straightaway and kind of flip-flop the positions back and forth, but sometimes you'll actually take a little bit of the fuel save, maybe take notes on where the other cars are running and see what's going to work for you later.
Well, that's true. And fuel saving, also a big concern there as well. I mean, we've got 50 laps to the end of the race in stage number 3. I mean, could this stage 1 just be sort of a learning point where you see what happens in the draft? You could save a bit of that extra fuel to help with pit stops or anything that may happen down the line?
Yes, I totally think that this is the time and the place to experiment, and I know that we have 3 stages. It is condensed, though. Only 120 laps here tonight, so if you're going to experiment, yeah, do it now when you know you've got a yellow coming.
Well, they're starting to experiment at the front of the field and not with fuel saving. They're experimenting for position. Miranda under fire now. Zach Wilson on the inside. He's got help from Ross Harlow. And a third car in line. That's the 94, Jesse Whittington. Richard Swavely is going to stay up high. And the 12 of Lawson Peel back there in the middle. We're almost 3 wide for position. Wilson's going to keep his foot in it. Side drop the 99. And our top 10 have broken away. Back to turn 1. Multiple rows deep, 2 wide.
And I'm looking 200 miles an hour entering turn 1 with our front pack here side by side for third between Harlow and Wilson. I'm noticing a few cars kind of entering the mix here, but the regular playoff contenders, Forrester, Miranda, Harlow, Peel, Brown, Stempian, they're all in the top 10.
Yeah, that's true, and that's not good news for Wyatt Brackett, who's trapped in 12th and has not been able to break the number 47 of Isaac Mock ahead of him, and he's got all of that space between himself and those guys at the back half of the top 10, and another rival there in the playoffs is in that top 10. The number 16 of Garrett Brown, he's hanging in at around the 9th place position right in front of the 71 of Curtis Kelly. So Brown might be able to gain some really good points. A beautiful Havoline car, by the way, Joey. I mean, one of the best schemes here this evening at Michigan. He ran it last week, too, at Richmond. But for Brackett, this is some serious trouble seeing him up front like this.
Yes, but don't get into panic mode yet. We just talked about it. It is the first stage. We know a yellow flag is coming. And honestly, with the way this top 10 is racing up front, do you want to be up there with this going on so early?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it could be chaotic, could cause a caution. And Brackett looks like it's getting a little bit better for him because Brown just fell off on Curtis Kelly. So he's falling back to 10th as they're almost 3 wide. A bit of contact there in the mid-pack. That was the 12 of Lawson Peel getting underneath. That looked to be the 94 of Whittington. And even then, the 32 of Richard Swavely still duking it out for position. It looks like they have calmed down quite a bit. And the entire field mostly single file as Colin Forrester remains in control of the race as we get to about the halfway mark of stage number 1.
I love that it is single file going down the back straightaway, and then as soon as they go into turn 3 or into turn 1, it all of a sudden fans out 2, 3, sometimes even 4 wide here at Michigan. And I love it because you can carry the top speed, the momentum around the top. You can go paint the yellow line all the way at the bottom and pull those slide jobs that we were seeing. There's just multiple lanes to be racing on.
Yeah, there's multiple lanes, and when you've got the draft set up like this where you've got somewhat of a formed inside and outside lane with multiple drivers in each, then they seem to even out coming out of the corner. Richard Swavely hit 199 miles an hour on the front straightaway. Last time by was about 193 when they reached the end of the backstretch going into turn 3. The speeds are really high here from Michigan, and the top 3 clustering up quite a bit. Miranda giving the shove to Forrester. Could be a way to just break him a little bit, break that defense as the 94 of Whittington goes underneath. Harlow for the top 5 and slides quite a bit.
Yeah, just trying to keep the car down low in his lane. You know, I give him credit because he was way out of shape, way loose coming up out of 2. It killed all his momentum, but he was able to maintain his lane down there. It really is Ross Harlow kind of making the middle groove work. Oh, so close between himself and Wilson.
He is so aggressive, and here comes Miranda, challenge for the lead on the outside. Here he comes into turn 1. Miranda has the spot. Of course, they're going to get the help from the 5 of Ross Harlow into turn 1 on board with the 99 of Miranda. He slides up as the 31 goes in. We're almost 3 wide for the lead out of turn 2.
It's almost like, which lane does Wilson and Harlow choose? Do you choose to push Miranda, which the 51 is going to do? Try to clear that outside lane going into turn 3. Look at that big move from Harlow, go from the inside to the outside.
He's going to look for the momentum out of turn 4, but look who's breaking into the top 3, the 81, Steven Stempien. We saw him as the fastest car in practice. Qualifying didn't really go his way. Started in 9th and all the way up to 3rd. In a matter of a couple of laps here from Michigan, Stempien is looking to take the top spot away. Now next on the chopping block is the 51 of Wilson. He's got the inside, but he can't get through. And man, Joey, that 81 has been really aggressive moving through the field. I mean, typical to what we saw in practice as one of the fastest cars out there. Looks like he's showing it, strutting his stuff here at lap 16.
Well, and remember, lap 16 of 30, or I should say 35 here in this first stage. So 3 wide coming up off of turn number 4 for the lead. Miranda, Wilson, Stempien. Miranda has the momentum up top.
And the momentum at the top is going to help that 99 stay up front. He's going to make contact with Wilson before they get to turn 1. The 5 of Wilson, or rather Harlow, is right behind, but the 51 of Wilson stays underneath. And this battle for the lead continues to get more contentious lap by lap. And mind you, Harlow in this mix at the back of it could have the front row seat to a great positioning to get him into the lead. But the 81 of Stempien moves all the way to the inside. Looks like a slide drop attempt on the 99 of Miranda. Will it work? Answer for now is yes. Zero G has control of first and second back to the start-finish line.
But look at the momentum coming from Miranda. He's got the push from Wilson. He chooses to push Stempien into more clean air. Let's see, 200 miles an hour from the 81 going off into turn 1. Kenneth, one thing I'm noticing, though, you remember Jesse Whittington earlier on? He was really painting that yellow line down low. It seems as these cars and as this run goes on, starts to burn off those tires if you're sticking to that low lane. He seems to be struggling a little bit more now.
Yeah, he is. He's falling back to 9th, and the driver who has broken into the top 8 right in front of him, Wyatt Brackett, he's been working on that for a while. His tires also sort of screaming a little bit for grip, and the same could go for Richard Swavely, Joe. I mean, we've seen these 3 sort of in a similar situation. They were really aggressive early, had to make up some spots, fighting hard on the inside, but when you're like that in a pressured position with the drivers on the outside having the momentum off the corner, it just makes it way harder for you to A, gain position, but B, keep the grip on the cars. One car all the way at the back, it's a little sideways.
It's about management, right? Like, how much do you abuse the tires early on for that lap time, for that speed? Or how much do you take care of them early on and maybe suffer a little bit in lap time, but then knowing at the end of the run, you'll be faster than everybody else. So it's kind of which side of the seesaw do you want to be on?
Yeah, that's true. And 2 drivers that have talked a lot about tire saving and being consistent over the long run is your race leader, Steven Stempien, but also the driver that has managed to end up in 3rd at this stage of the race. Harlow way loose into turns 1 and 2. He's going to drop a couple of spots, but we're talking about Lawson Peel, defending series champion. He is a 5-time winner in season 6 of the Sunoco Cup Series, looking for win number 6 and trying to repeat here in the Irish Hills of Michigan. Lawson led 50 laps last time over here on the way to the win after starting in P6. Tonight seems to be somewhat of the same. He started in P6 and he's up to 3rd, so Peel knows what it's like to win at a place like Michigan and to perform well. He's now looking on the inside of Miranda for 2nd.
Was able to use that side draft down the front straightaway. Is going to clear Miranda in the 99 through turn number 2, move that number 12 up into 2nd spot. And I think when you come into the race today, 2nd in the championship, looking at Miami, I think it's a little bit more about damage control. You got to be careful not to focus too much on it, though, because then you're actually going to bleed a little bit speed. Seems like Lawson Peel right now, at the front of the field, a good mindset to have.
Yeah, chilling right now in second as he tries to catch up to the number 81 of Steven Stempien, who so far has the lead. Now, Peel did complete what a couple of other drivers have tried but could not do in the last couple of laps. That is break the duo of 0G. Mind you, both of them teammates for the Ford Mustangs, the 81 and the 99, but Peel breaking that up could help just kind of spearhead the effort of all the other guys behind them to try and get around Miranda, get around Stempien, and somewhat struggle or make their struggle happen a little earlier than they would want to as the 81 goes to the bottom. We're going to cross the line for lap number 23. We should be around 12 laps away from the end of stage number 1. Now, this is going to be big, Joey, because not only is Stempien getting points to hold on to his cushion above the cut line, Ross Harlow is going to gain some points here as he's slowly falling off, but he's going to get some points. Zach Wilson is going to break this a little bit with the playoff fight. Colin Forster, Miranda, all these guys who are in very different positions going to find their way into some really good points at this stage.
And stage points matter. Remember, we are winding down the championship, so all points matter at this stage. And I think the two big ones that I'm looking at over here, Brackett has done a fantastic job to drive up into the top 10 from that 23rd, from that poor qualifying, honestly, I should say that. But the other big one, Garrett Brown, look at him. He has fallen all the way back to 12th place position. He qualified up in 7th spot. So I wonder what has happened here to the number 16.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Draft hasn't helped him. Neither has tire conservation either. In the 16, I might have some other cars to worry about in the next couple of laps because Chris Shoemaker's behind him. Parker Bland is behind as well. The 47 of Isaac Mock is slowly dropping to the field. Logan Sturgeon, Gary Sexton, those cars back to the top 16. Garrett Brown is going to have somewhat of a fight on his hands if he wants to either gain that spot above Kip Easy and get into stage point territory or avoid some of the extra bleeding that could happen if he is not careful. Battle for the lead starting to develop. Miranda looking on the inside, appeal for that second spot as Zach Wilson gives assistance on the top side, and your pole sitter, Joey, has also fallen off quite a bit. He's dropped back to 5th.
It's getting spicy out here. 25 of 35 on this stage, and I'm noticing that all of these cars, it doesn't matter which one I'm following, they are all starting to struggle for that rear grip coming off of the corners. Very loose race cars.
And they are very loose. I mean, we saw Ross Harlow get a bit sideways out of turn 2 not too long ago. A couple of other drivers have kicked out the rear end. Now here's the 12 of Peel. He's got no help, though, going into turn 1. The 0G teammates are going to Koopa back together. The 12 is going to dive into 1 and 2 with a try at getting around that 81. He's got it for the moment as he plants in the throttle. New race leader, Lawson Peel out of turn 2.
What a great run. And he didn't have any help going into 1, so he really had to kind of pull the slide job, clear the 81 of Stempien, and he did exactly that. Now he's got the clean air, and I'm actually noticing this is the biggest gap our front two have really had. It doesn't seem like much, but it is about 5 cars.
Yeah, that's true, and they're starting to get in once again. I mean, Colin Forster is trapped on the high side as some of the guys in the back half of this group are starting to get back in the draft. Look on board with the number 12 of Lawson Peel. Rather, that's not the 12 of Lawson Peel. That looks to be the 99 of Miranda. As Ross Harlow and Curtis Kelly. Looks like they're going to try and go side by side down the back straightaway. This is going to be for P6 as Forster tries to stay ahead of Zach Wilson. And they're all slowly falling off from the top 3. Almost contact there. And if you're Ross Harlow, Joey, you have to be really careful. A driver going into this race with a total of 4,052 points. 4 points below Stempien for that cut line spot. He's got a lot of non-playoff drivers around him. He's a little chippy. Got to be a little careful if you're him.
I think this entire stage has been like this, which I think you could say, all right, it's good because these drivers have such comfort level with everybody around them. They've got the skill level to keep it off of the walls, keep it off of their competitors. But you are right. It's almost kind of like a little bit of a mixing pot. When is it going to boil over?
I'm not sure. Hopefully it doesn't. We're only about 7 laps before the end of stage 1, but they continue to get close. Wilson almost into the side of the 31, and Harlow makes contact with Curtis Kelly. Make that 3 wide for 5th as Whittington taps the outside wall. And they have let the top 3 get in their own league as Lawson Peel holds on to the top spot. Steven Stempien try to look on the inside, though.
And I think Forrester was the one who took advantage of that, and Ross Harlow is the one dealing with all the dirty air. But there is multiple wall rubs coming up out of turn 4, so you're right. Things definitely heating up as we start to close down stage 1.
And you'd think that the playoff drivers that are beneath the cut line, they're going to be more desperate. They will be the ones fighting like this for position. But in fact, it's all of the non-playoff drivers, those who were eliminated from competition, and some
Oh!
others as Whittington hits the outside wall, catches Richard Swavely at a turn 4. The hood flies off of the Chevy Camaro. Whittington goes for a spin. And 5 laps away from the end of stage 1. Will that be a caution? So far, the answer is no. Whittington tows it to the pit lane, and we're still green.
It was just that one car, and we're going to watch the 94. Look at him on the top side of the racetrack. He's going to lose the rear end grip. Huge tank slapper, and Harlow does get into the back of him, but it was not the fault of the 5. Unfortunately, the 94 just lost it on his own.
Oh, you have to imagine for Harlow, like I was talking about, you're in a place where all those non-playoff drivers are fighting so aggressively. The last thing you would want is for one of them to make a mistake right in front of you. That's just what happened to the 94. And it appears as we look on Harlow's machine, there is no damage on his Chevy Camaro, but he dodged a bullet as he remains side by side with Curtis Kelly for P6.
Well, I think I've wrote it down on my Post-it notes over here. Lap number 29, lap 30. Remember, I was saying the cars are starting to struggle for rear end grip. Well, that's about 5 laps short of this stage. We should pay attention when it comes to that same time next stage.
Yeah, we should. And as this changes and as we see drivers get into this top 10 game points this time around, and then when we get the next stage at around lap number 70, then that should be rather interesting to see how the points arc develops and who's going to break in and who's going to sort of fizzle out of tonight's race. We've got a battle for the lead. Stepien in the 81 on the inside. Lawson Peel trying to hold out on top. He's got the help, though, with the 99 of Miranda, but he's going to dart down to the inside and give the push to Stepien on the back straightaway for turn 3. Mind you, we're about 3 laps away from the end of stage number 1. So Peel with 4,063 points at the top of the board, if we're not counting Austin Riddy with the win, and Stepien right above the cut line. It's going to be an interesting fight.
And these 3 have really broken away from that other pack of 4 that you see giving chase right here. So they can kind of race amongst themselves as the leaders, but it is a little bit of a 2-on-1 battle with the teammates, kind of a playground bullies at this point.
Yeah, and it also helps in the fact that Stepien and Miranda, both of them are fighting for the championship. Meanwhile, Peel is the only one out of his Drinking Bros Racing group to be this far into the playoffs. Brandon Banks was his teammate in the playoffs a long time ago in the round of 16. He got eliminated after Atlanta, and DBR really only had one driver in the form of Peel to make it this far. He's going to hold on to the lead with help of that TwistedTech.com number 99 Mustang, and we'll cross the line for lap number, what appears to be lap number 34 here, as Miranda goes to the inside for the lead.
Side by side, he scoots up the racetrack, washes up a little. Look at Stepien take advantage of the wide open door. That was all cause from Mario Miranda, and we've got a yellow flag.
Caution flag is out. Is that for the stage? I believe no. Chris Progar, Charles Feltz in the outside wall.
Believe this is going into turn number 1. You can correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is just shy of the stage 1 end.
Yeah, and you look at the contact that happens going into turn 1. That's Chris Progar, the back end of this 3-car train. See him go to the inside of Charles Feltz. They make a bit of contact, and right into the outside wall goes the 7. It looked like, Joey, they couldn't get away from each other after they made that first bit of touching. See right here, Progar goes to the inside with the draft. He'll make the slight contact. Right into the wall he goes.
And it's difficult here specifically at Michigan, that D-shaped front straightaway. It's not straight. So your visual references of 2 wide and 3 wide, they kind of change, and the lines alter between the drivers and the side drafting. And it is unfortunate that we had 2 cars in the wall, but I do believe that was a racing incident. There was no malicious intent there.
Yeah, 100%. How many times did we see that at Pocono a couple of weeks back where you're drafting on that long front straightaway and you're trying to side draft another driver, you make a bit of contact and it creates a crash, whether those drivers wanted it to happen or not, which most of the chance, obviously, you don't want it to happen, and none of it was really intentional. But it looks like the same mishap happening to bring out our first yellow for on-track incident. Now, because we're right next to the stage at lap number 35, caution came out at 34. We're going to count this as the end of stage number 1, so that will be given to the number 81 of Steven Stepien. Lawson Peel, Mario Miranda going to be second and third as the entire field, Joey Atterbury, comes in for pit road.
Important to hit your marks here on your pit stop. Don't give away any track position. I'm noticing everybody in the top 10 seems to have a pretty clean entry. Let's see if Stepien can hold on to it here in pit road, because I tell you what, Kenneth, that move that he pulled into turn 2 would have made it 3 wide when that door opened. He stole away the lead.
Yeah, he did, and here comes the 81 out of pit road. He's going to bring his teammate with him, Colin Forrester, with a great stop, 14.5 seconds. He's going to be able to get ahead of Lawson Peel, and he'll be in the third. Peel drops to fourth. Zach Wilson ending up as the last driver inside the top 5. So Steven Stepien in the 81 with some well-needed points. End of stage 1 here in the Michigan 240. Stay tuned. We've got coverage on the other side here on Podium Esports.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller. Yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build. Got it. Yesterday. I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done. How's he do it? I can search nationwide. Even those classified sites. Auto Tempest. All the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
There is Max Papis in the Ferrari. As great a race as Ferrari has ever won.
Steering wheel for me has always been a sensitive spot. There's a whole experience there that we're all trying to refine.
Max Papis, he asked me one day, he said, what can I do in a wheel? I said, well, with the new.
Welcome back to coverage of the Michigan 240 here for coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series playoffs and the last race of the round of 8 as we get to decide the 4 that will make it to Homestead at Miami Speedway next Sunday. Kenneth Bueno, Joey Atterbury with you in the booth for all of the coverage. Bradley Cooper, our phenomenal producer, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Steven Stepien wins stage number 1. Some well-needed points to keep him above the cut line. He's going to be joined by his 0G teammate, Mario Miranda, in the front row to bring us to the restart to begin stage number 2. And the Ford Mustang hops on the gas first. We're back under green from Michigan. And Joey, we saw a lot of phenomenal racing by the end of that first stage before the caution came out. Are we expecting the same amount of aggression in this second stage?
I think so, and we're already seeing it 3 wide as we get to that second stage. And I think we're going to see the usual players at the front like we did in stage 1, but I think we're going to see a little bit more of the strategy come into play. Maybe some more fuel save games being played here in the second stage.
Yeah, that's true. And we're seeing side-by-side already the 31 of Forrester on the inside of Ross Harlow, who was one of the more aggressive drivers in our first stage of action here from the Irish Hills. And the 12 of Lawson Peel side drafting Miranda, but again, he finds no help. And this seems to be a similar situation, Joey, to what we saw at the Tricky Triangle in Pocono a couple of weeks back in the round of 12, where a lot of guys are on the outside single file, and if you make a move on the inside, sure, you might have some momentum in the corner, but if you can't complete that pass, good luck to you on the straightaways because you're going to get absolutely freight trained.
Yeah, you can be a little bit of a sitting duck if you really pinch the entries and exits here at Michigan. But the one caveat to it is if you've got some buddies to come up and help you, or if you can slip into spot in that outside lane, you can actually leapfrog up. Just hopefully they come up and push you from behind rather than side draft and slingshot around you.
And again, it kind of makes you think as guys like Ross Harlow and Lawson Peel, some of the only drivers, in their teams to be this far in the playoffs, they've got no teammates around them that are also running for the championship. If they think about working together to try and get around guys like Stempien and Miranda, who so far are nose to tail, first and second. So far, they remain in that single file train as we look a little bit further back into the action. That's the 18 of Parker Bland trying to settle herself out in a pack of a lot of cars and some others in the outside wall.
I think the other thing that we have to take into account over here is that, yes, we do have a full stage under our belt, so these drivers are a little bit more familiar with the tire fall off that comes along with it. And I'm noticing, actually, right now, our leader's pace of 39.59, that's 0.6 off of his fastest. I wonder if we're already starting to see management out of the drivers.
And we probably are. And in a way, it could also go into stage number 3, right, where it's the longest stage of the race. You're going the longest way around, probably thinking about green flag strategy if we don't get any yellows. Second stage could give you some pointers on what to do for that third stage, and maybe some drivers are already implementing their third stage strategy for stage number 2, and they're just trying to carry it on through the rest of the race and see how far that takes them. And speaking of drivers that are trying to get far, the 16 of Garrett Brown, he fell off a little bit at the end of stage number 1. He did get stage points, albeit a couple, just about 3 or so points. And now he is trying to fight against the 10 of Dakota Curtis. That's the 13 of Gary Sexton right in front of him. And Brown trapped on the high side with minimal help out of turn 4.
And it is single file. Ooh, Harlow got the wall a little bit, and to kind of break it down a little bit more, it's basically the scientific process here with the 3 stages we got. You experiment in stage 1, you take the notes from the experiment, you apply what you learned in stage 2, and then from there, you pretty much perfect what you found in stage 2 into that final stage, because it is 50 laps, it is a little bit different, so you're going to have that whole notebook open for you.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And if you're Garrett Brown, you need to have that notebook all the way open with every page looked at, because he only picked up 3 points in stage 1, and that puts him now dead last in the playoff standings order. So he's going to be still at mercy of elimination. Miranda got a couple of points. He's now about a spot ahead of driver number 16. So we'll keep that in mind, and we'll update you throughout the night as to where the point standings lie when we get out of stage number 2. Battle way beneath the top 15, but it's starting to heat up. You saw Aaron Adcock, Kip Easley, Sean Kalis among those in this group. And look behind them, Joey. That's the 30 of Wyatt Brackett, playoff driver who is still trying to survive in a sea of wildness.
Yeah, unfortunately, Wyatt fell back a little bit more during the pit stops. He kind of finds himself having to swim through the field. I guess the only thing that he can lean on is that he's already done it once. Just need to be extra careful now that you've got the first stage done. Your options, your limited mistakes, they limit even further from here. Just be careful.
Well, I guess if you're the 30 car, Wyatt Brackett, with this Rocket League paint scheme, I guess he's not really swimming through the field. I guess he's aeroling through the field, flying through the field, boosting through the field.
I guess, yes, that terminology is a little bit more appropriate for the scheme.
Well, cars in the wall right in front. That looks to be the 71 of Curtis Kelly. Field does a nice job of getting around. You see him there. Fast Banana Chevrolet, the top side of the racetrack, dropping severely through the field. And that was a little bit of a pointer to our producer, Bradley Cooper. Him and I worked on some Rocket League broadcasts over the last couple of months. And we love the car, the paint scheme from Wyatt Brackett as he tries to keep his championship hopes alive. We're 3 wide near the back of this pack. The battle for second heats up in the front. Lawson Peel underneath Miranda. Looks like he might be able to get that pass completed. He's going to look for a 2-for-1. Slide up near the 81 of Stempien to no avail. He cannot do it.
Yeah, the 2 bullies once again teamed up on the outside there. Stempien and Miranda getting pushed down the back straightaway. Kenneth, you mentioned that car that was in the wall, Curtis Kelly, the number 71. I tell you what, it was incredibly close because it was Zach Wilson and Curtis Kelly that came together off of turn number 2. And remember, both of those drivers non-playoff contenders that were inside the top 7 at that point.
Yeah, that's true. And for Kelly, that's going to hurt as a driver who came in inside the top 5. Last time we were here, Michigan finished in that spot from the 16th starting position. Kelly, still a lot of time to get this race turned the other direction, but right now it seems to be on the wrong end of things. Also a note, Austin Reedy, who started this race basically at the tail end of the field because he dropped out right before the green flag was waved. He started this race from pit road, car number 96, up to 12th. Joey cannot take the fight out of the Team Designs Camaro. There he is on the inside.
And I like this approach. He hasn't necessarily rocketed through the field. It's honestly the first time that I've looked at this car all race. He's just slowly, methodically working his way up through the field. Huge loose moment up off of turn number 2. I think that's probably what he's going to have to manage is just that tire wear. But, I mean, how demoralizing is it going to be when it comes to stage number 3? And this driver is up in the top 5, potentially taking away a win spot going to Miami.
And that is bad news for all of those drivers looking to point their way into Homestead, Miami, because the man who's locked in, if he goes 2 in a row, he's going to shut down any opportunity that is open for guys like Miranda or like Wyatt Brackett or like Garrett Brown, who need a bit of a boost in order to get into that title fight race next Sunday night. We saw it happen a couple of weeks ago in the playoffs. We saw Texas and Pocono, round of 12, went both to Lawson Peel. If it goes the way of Austin Reedy, who knows what might happen next. As here's Ross Harlow on the inside. He will push Steven Stempien and remain in the race lead, but he looks for 3rd underneath Lawson Peel. Boy, this is getting really close. I'm getting a little scared.
I tell you what, I think Mario Miranda has officially caught his breath because he was about 30 degrees of a yaw angle coming up out of turn number 2 that last lap. What a save from that driver.
And Miranda still keeping it intact, and Miranda able to get his first ever Monday Night Racing win. If you watched on Monday night here on Podium Esports, Miranda coming off that huge win as he spent a little bit of time in the Oklahoma University Esports Center downstairs, put his set there, and you saw that sideways action out of turn 2. And Joey, I mean, you cannot say that this field is not trying their hardest to keep these cars afloat because the tires are wearing at a really hot track temperature at 124. That's Harlow sideways on the front straightaway. And everyone got around. He's going to spin it. And caution is out. But how did nobody get into him?
All I gotta say is count your blessings, Ross
Wow.
Harlow, because the entire field, you gotta go buy them some milkshakes after this. They just kept you in the championship.
Those underpants might not be clean after this situation out of turn 4. Ross Harlow getting into the 31 of Colin Forster, and you'll see it here. Joey, what happened with the 5?
I mean, this is all coming up out of turn number 4. He's going to try to go with the over-under move, but he gets kind of washed up the racetrack a little bit, makes contact with Forrester, which was the car in front of him, and unfortunately loses the grip from there. But holy smokes, I mean, how many close calls was that? 3, 4 from other drivers coming through?
That was about, yeah, I'd say 3, 4, maybe 5. You saw Aaron Adcock that almost got into him. That's a good look from the Big Fish Motorsports Camaro. And then even then, James Kunkel in the 3. Richard Swavely in the 32. Both of them getting by as the 5 spins right around that Michigan International Speedway sign on the front stretch. And Ross Harlow spins his race car, but he avoids catastrophe. His chances for a championship are still intact, although this is really going to hurt him track position-wise. Here's a look from Kunkel. Oh man.
It looks like a few did get into the wall or at least spun afterwards, but I mean nothing what we were expecting when you're coming off a corner at 200 miles an hour and it's nothing but smoke and then a parked car literally coming down the racetrack.
Man, for the 5 car, he dodged multiple bullets in the cars that did get contact. Richard Swavely got hit by the 71 of Curtis Kelly, so hence both of them having some damage. Here are drivers on pit road. Looks like Ray Rogers, Travis Stevens, Looks like actually that seems to be Chris Progar in the 7. He's in. Warren Kyle Keith, Alex Muscarella. Some drivers near the rear of the field coming in. And an update here on Ross Harlow. It appears that he is also hitting the pit lane. There he is back in 26. So getting some fresh tires and possibly getting some fuel. Looks like a fuel only call for the moment. Just a splash.
I don't blame him. You know, he's already at the tail end of the field pretty much. And if he got any sort of damage from bumping into the apron on the underside of the car, it gives the iRacing crew an opportunity to go over the wall, maybe get some of those repairs done if it is a small amount. And the other thing you got to remember is that you got to do a mental reset too. Get rid of those tires. Just say, give me some sticker tires. Let me have a fast car. Let me go back out there and do my thing.
100%, and also a very long way to go. We're not even halfway. So for a guy like Harlow, this is a big setback, but it is not the biggest. He can still walk away with a shot at the championship four. He can still turn this race around, just like Curtis Kelly. Well, I mean, at that point, he did pick up the damage, so probably not for him. But for Harlow, in the case of this spin, he's still in this race. It is not over. He's going to be really far back in this field and might not have the chance to pick up some stage points. We'll see if we can try to talk to the driver of the 5, get his perspective on that incident, and probably talking about the sigh of relief that he probably has after missing a couple of those cars who almost completely slammed into him. We'll bring in the driver of the 5, Ross Harlow. And Ross, that was a tough situation there out of turn 4. Just what happened there from your perspective?
I don't know. I mean, just running tight, and I don't know if he got a wiggle or just, netcode got us or I got too close. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at it. But, one way or another, just got a tap in the right front at a bad time and locked the thing down, had the brakes on pretty much the whole time. And she just wanted to keep going. So it's a miracle I didn't hit anything. It's a miracle nobody hit me. Still able to race. So we're going to do what we can here.
Yeah, I was about to ask, in a situation like that, you're spinning in the middle of the field, and amazingly, no one got into. Do you feel that sort of pucker up and brace for impact moment, just hoping that no one's going to get into right in the middle of the field?
Oh, 100%. Like I said, I had it locked down, and I was just cringing as guys were coming by, hoping I didn't catch anyone. It caught the apron there and came back up, and I got pretty stressed for a second there coming back up the track, but it just everybody did a good job. I was just waiting to have to let go of the wheel. With this DD, there's a whole lot of feedback when you get licked like that.
Well, starting 28th on this next green flag run, what are you going to try to do to get back up to the front?
We're gonna have to work some magic here, play a lot of strategy games, but I think we can get back there. It's gonna take a lot of work, but we'll get there.
All right, we know you got a fast car. We know you can do it, Ross. Best of luck on the restart.
Thanks, Kenneth.
So that is the driver of the 5, Ross Harlow, as he tries to get set for this restart. Green flag in the air, field led by Steven Stepien. They get right in front of his teammate Miranda, Joey, as they head for turn 1.
Yeah, 12 of Lawson Peel trying to make the low lane work, but now has the Stepien dirty air right in front of him. He's actually got a good run up off of turn number 2, but I feel like Mario Miranda really going to go up there and push the 81.
It's going to come down to the amount of help that you have on the back straightaway, which in the case for the 12 is 0. Zilch, as he goes into turn 3, tries to get underneath Miranda again for that second place spot as we watch the battle develop around the top 5. How about Gary Sexton? Started tonight right around the top 10, and he has slowly worked his way up through the field. He's not a playoff driver. He did get eliminated back in the round of 12 at Pocono Raceway. But Sexton doing all that he can to try and get one more win this season as Peel makes the slide job work. He's in the race lead.
Yeah, the 12 to the point, crucially coming onto the back straightaway. We'll see what Stepien does. And then look at Peel. He's actually using the middle lane. This is what I thought. I don't think these two teammates are going to want the number 12 car breaking that clean air. They're going to do whatever they can to get that lead back.
Yeah, that's true. And for the 12, on the other hand of it, Joey, how scary is it for you? Because you know you don't have teammate assistance. You're basically tackling these two drivers by yourself. How do you maintain a spot like this up front when Stepien and Miranda are going to be at you every single lap?
You just have to stay on top of it. If they're throwing curveballs, well, guess what? Throw some sliders back at them. If they're staying simple and single file, well, then Sure, go dictate the race, but I just think you have to read the competition, respond appropriately.
And you saw him snake trailing on the front straightaway. He wanted to make sure that Stepien did not get any lick of the draft going into turn one, where the cars are hitting their max speed, almost 200 miles an hour, entering that respective corner. Colin Forrester at the bottom of the track, he'll give way to Garrett Brown, who is looking for a stellar stage number 2, as we're going to come across to around 12 laps to go in this stage. Brown is picking the pace up. Brandon Banks trying to be a spoiler inside the top 10. He got underneath the 31, but to no avail. The 13 goes around, and the field is back to single file on board with Banks.
Yeah, the 54 almost pushed up into the 31. You saw him have to lift there through the corner, really killed his momentum coming off. But the 31 now of Colin Forrester taking a look down the inside of turn number 4. But just as we've seen all race long, if you don't have the buddies there, you got to get back in line.
Yeah, it's been really tough to pass. Again, similar to Pocono in the way that the top line draft is so overpowered that if you make a case known on the inside, it's going to be really tough to get around drivers and make up that track position, unless the tire conservation over a long run is way better. But for now, it seems to be rather a short run after the caution. And that 31 not yet able to get around the 16 of Brown. And speaking of which, the entire field, Joey, is all single file. We're not seeing a lot of side-by-side action, and if it is, it's somewhat scattered across the field. So I guess, would you say that the aggression has toned down quite a bit? These drivers know how long of a race it's going to be in stage 3, so they're being a little more careful?
Yes, and as you say that, you know, the front 3 were literally pushing each other at 200 miles an hour. So, yeah, I mean, it's calmed down a little bit, but I think the keys here to take away is how much of the management come into play here, and the other is we had that yellow flag in the middle of this stage. That really breaks up the heat cycles on these tires. So I think that the drivers just a little bit more confidence right now, a little bit more grip than what they had at the end of stage 1.
Yeah, that's true. And here comes Stempy into the inside for the lead. What will Miranda do? It looks like that is the obvious answer. Goes underneath to help his teammate, but he'll go back up to pick up the draft for turn 1. And Peel is just assuming, am I wrong to assume that they can't dance? Just like Anderson .Paak. Lawson Peel playing defense here in turns 1 and 2. And Stempien's going to stay down there. This is a weird situation, though, if you're Miranda. You've got the 12, who's got the better run, but you've got the teammate underneath. On the inside, as there's a look at Ross Harlow, who has fallen back a little bit through this field. As caution comes out, looks like Isaac Mock in trouble. Turn 3.
Oh, yeah, I believe Justin Erb may be involved in this one, too. I see him slow on the racetrack in the number 20 spinning around there. This all happened into turn number 3, and this is just shy of stage 2 coming to a close. I believe we should get back to a little green flag sprint here.
Yeah, we should. We're about 8 laps away from stage 2. There's a look at what happened between Justin Erb and Isaac Mock. Oh, man, similar to what happened with Feltz and Progar, right? A little bit earlier. Side draft gone wrong. They just make the contact, but instead of going into the wall on the outside, they go to the wall on the inside, but they keep it out of it.
Yes, it was very similar. Thankfully, no wall contact between these two competitors. Ooh, a little bit of maybe a splitter divot there on the number 20. But I will say, in iRacing, in the sim here, when you try to do this side draft and you get a little bit too close, it almost seems sometimes like there's magnets attaching the cars, like you can't get them off of each other.
Yeah, that's true. And in some way, the Gen 4 car acts the same, right? If you get into the outside wall, it sucks you in there with the way the car is built. A side draft, really tough to execute. Once you make that contact, it's really, really difficult to get around that and to not get into more contact and ultimately get into a wall or create a caution like it did there. Multiple cars near the back of the field coming on to pit road. One of them is going to be Ross Harlow. Remember, he was back in around 28th when we got the last green flag restart, Joey, because he's got no track position. He's coming in at around every caution now. This could help him for stage 3. Get you a little bit extra fuel.
I agree with you, and I'm going to open myself up to a little bit of wound here, but I don't know exactly how far these cars can make it on a green flag fuel run. Could this be a strategy play from the number 5?
I think so. I think, in a way, if he remains coming down pit road each caution just because he doesn't have track position, all these guys up front are going to stay out. he's going to have a little more fuel in the tank, those 18 gallons on these next-gen cars. I mean, it is going to play a big role into the last stage, most notably as we close in on the end of this one. And also, Harlow's going to gain track position. When you think about it, he's going to stay out when we get lap number 70, most likely. And then all these guys are going to come in. So all of a sudden, what was a deficit in track position is going to become a benefit if he can stay out in front.
That's exactly the point that I was getting ready to make, is that this right here, he still has one stop to go, just like the rest of the field. However, like you just mentioned, he's going to leapfrog everybody at the end of stage 2 here, because by the time we get racing again, these drivers, they're only going to have about 4 or 5 laps on those tires, meaning Ross Harlow, when he goes to start stage 3, he might not be on stickers, but they're going to be pretty dang close.
So Steven Stepien leads this race. 7 laps to go until stage number 2 here from Michigan. Boy, we've seen an epic one so far. We're around the halfway mark of tonight's race. It looks like we are ready to get a little bit of a dash to get some extra points in. As of stage number 1, Peel has the most points out of anybody in the playoffs. Does not have a win, 4,072, and the gap between the cut line, it was first Stepien versus Harlow. Now it's Forster versus Harlow. Forster at 4,064. Harlow at 4,057. Forster is 5th right now on the racetrack. Harlow is buried in 29th. So Harlow may not be able to get points this time through in stage 2. But he's looking for that golden ticket, checkered flag at the end. What do you expect here, Joey, on this restart? 2 0G cars on the inside. Lawson Peel, Zach Wilson, first 2 rows on the top.
Well, I expect the two teammates to really team up and push. I know that in iRacing, it's a little bit more difficult to kind of time those pairs of restart, but that's what I would expect out of the two teammates. I would say what I'm going to watch out for is watch out for possible aggression. We're coming to the end of a stage. It's easy to remember you don't have 120 laps left, right? You're done here halfway through pretty much. Let's get going. Sometimes you can get going too much too early.
Those highlighted drivers that I have in mind for the restart, Miranda in P3 and Garrett Brown in P6. Those who are very desperate for some stage points. They're probably going to be as aggressive as they can be in these next couple of laps. Pace car is down. We'll get to around 5 laps before the end of stage number 2 at lap number 70. 0G gets to working together on the restart, and it goes to flying in a turn 1 together in a tandem.
I said it was difficult to get them paired up, but it looks like Miranda and Stepien have practiced, worked it out. They pushed each other to the top 2, but look at Forster. He's really trying to make a charge on the bottom.
Well, he's got no help, though. Lawson Peel is not going to give him the time of day. Neither will Zach Wilson. That outside is just destroying Forster on the backstretch. Now Peel with a huge dive for second and possibly the lead. Almost a bit of contact.
Yeah, but look at Miranda really carrying the top lane. He lifts to let Stepien in. That allows Peel to stay alive on the bottom. Look at the number 96. Already 3 wide. Reedy joining the party.
We saw him start this race from pit road as he had a connectivity issue prior to the drop of the green flag. Now he's at the bottom 3 wide with Dakota Curtis and Garrett Brown for those last couple of spots inside the top 10. It's not going to work out of turn 2. He's going to drop at least 3 spots and settle into 10th before turn 3. And now here comes the number 31 back for the fight on the inside. They'll try and get ahead of the 51 of Wilson, and they'll take the momentum back to the front straightaway. But the advantage goes to the group led by Steven Stepien on the outside.
Look at Mario Miranda in the draft, pushing his teammate past 200 miles an hour. Lawson Peel in that number 12 car. Watch him run that outside lane. He's going to try to really corner off this turn number 2, carry the speed.
He's going to do so, and you watch on board there with the 99 for a moment. Peel still there in 3rd. Zach Wilson and Colin Forster. I mean, they might be able to help him up until this point, but for now, they're choosing to go for themselves. We are side by side for 8th. Garrett Brown making a move underneath Dakota Curtis. That's going to be a big time move as we're almost 3 wide. In fact, we are for position around the top 15. Kip easily on the inside, but he loses out.
It's just heating up all the way through the top 20, really. It may be single file on the straightaway, but I mentioned it. It dives 2, 3 wide through the turns every single lap. It's the draft game. Who can get off of the corner exits the best.
And you saw those two Nitro Motorsport Chevrolets, James Kunkel and Kip Easley, back out of line. There's now single file as Lawson Peel dives underneath the Twisted Tech Ford Mustang of Miranda. He's got second. Does the 99 pull off the crossover? Answer is going to be yes. To the inside he goes to the start-finish line. 1 lap left in stage number 2.
Yeah, 1 to go. Miranda on the inside of Peel, and crucially, I saw Steven Stempian go down to even try to help with the draft with Miranda as he slides up the racetrack. Looks like the 12 is going to hang tough. Does Stempian provide the draft to his teammate again?
Right now, the answer is no. He's way ahead of the competition, and the 99 is going to get freight trained, and they're going to make contact for third once and twice, maybe 3 times, entering 3 and 4. Lawson Peel's got the clearance for second. Miranda's going to put Wilson almost in the outside wall, and to the line. Steven Stempian's going to win stage 2. We'll see when the caution waves, but that was really aggressive. Gary Sexton went to the inside grass. It looks like we're still going. Now the caution comes out. Stempian, the stage 2 winner.
There was some action coming out of turn number 4 on that final lap. I tell you what, look at where the number 96 ended. Stage number 2 inside the top 5. I saw Gary Sexton get way loose. This was the car through the infield here off of turn number 4. The 13 Pro 2ing it through there.
Oh, man. Gary Sexton going for a wild ride out of 4. Look at him almost losing the car. Right there, a bit of contact to get sideways. A great job of saving the Mustang from any bit of trouble, but he's going to go for a huge kick up. Almost
That
like
looked pretty dang cool, though.
That's some airtime right there. No Michael Jordan, but that's full-on airtime from driver 13. As they got sketchy out of turn 4. That was the fight for stage points. Zach Wilson gets third over Mario Miranda, and that is going to hurt Miranda's chances just a little bit, getting closer to that championship fight. Here's a look at how aggressive they were out of 4, and Wilson wins it.
Kenneth, I thought that Wilson and Miranda were both going to end up in the wall in 4, and tell you, Mario squeezed him on the side draft going into 3. Wilson battled back. He didn't leave him any sort of room in 3 and 4. They both slid up the racetrack. Just we got 50 laps to go. I don't think that one's done yet.
No, it is not. It's playoff drivers and non-playoff drivers going right up against each other. As Steven Stempian, man, he has been on fire tonight. Dropping the hammer car, certainly dropping the hammer on the field. He's going to lead them on to pit road. Now, mind you, Ross Harlow pitted at the last caution near the end of this stage. He is 18th. And just like I thought, Joey Atterbury, he is going to pull to the right and stay out. The only car to do so right now.
That's his strategy. He needs to stay out right now. He's going to have plenty of fuel to basically make one more stop here in this race. But this strategy was all caused from that mistake earlier.
So Harlow's going to have to play a bit of catch-up here as he stays out. Gary Sexton looks to overshoot his pit box quite a bit, so he's going to lose a bit of time. But as for the fight off of pit road is concerned, we'll look at driver number 12 and driver 81. They come out. Lawson Peel has the advantage. Faster pit stop and 4 fresh Goodyear tires. And it's Ross Harlow at the head of the field looking to turn his race around inside the final 49 laps of this race. Ready for stage number 3 of the Michigan 240. We'll take a short break, but you won't miss any of the coverage on the other side here on Podium Esports.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller. Yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide. Even those classified sites. Auto Tempest. All the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
There there is Max Papis in the Ferrari. As great a race as Ferrari has ever performed.
The steering wheel for me has always been a sensitive spot. There's a whole experience there that we're all trying to refine. Max Pappas, he asked me one day, he said, what can I do in a wheel? I said, well, with the new.
Ready for stage 3 of the Sunoco Cup Series Michigan 240 here from the Michigan International Speedway. Quick reminder that coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series playoffs is brought to you by SK Sim Racing. SK Sim Racing has been a proud sponsor of the Sunoco Cup Series for a while and offers a wide variety of services to get you up to speed on your sim racing game. For sim racing products, tailless synthetics, AmSoil, and all the latest news around the sim racing world, you can go to sksimracing.com. It's Ross Harlow who stayed out over the last caution to lead this race. Chris Shoemaker on the inside. Green flag in the air at lap number 74. We're underway once again from Michigan in the 5 car to a phenomenal start for turn 1.
Broken away from the pack, nothing but clean air for the number 5, and he also has 4 blockers in the case of some used tires between himself and the freshies behind him.
And we were talking about the strategy, Joey, under brake and how tires going to play a factor, fuel runs, how that's going to matter if we end up going this race, for the most part, under green. But Joseph Mahar gets a hip check off of the 51, goes sideways, and he's going to save it.
What a piece of driving from that number 46 of Joseph Mahar. You called it. Check this out. He just gets a little bit of contact going into 3, gets some tire smoke, but ultimately keeps the point in the right direction.
Oh, great job by Mahar to keep that Ford Mustang planted and everybody getting around him. He was in the middle 3 wide at one point. He settles nicely now in 17th, so his car avoids any significant damage as they are scrapping behind them. Look at this pack led by Wyatt Brackett, a playoff driver. You've got James Kunkel, Dakota Curtis, Logan Sturgeon, Aaron Adcock among the field of cars looking for position.
And you got the fresh tires mixed in with the old tires. You got drivers that were in the middle, back of the pack, now at the front. And I'm seeing a little bit of confusion on who's taking which line and how they are driving the track.
You've got 3 drivers from 11th through 13th that started 21st or worse. Logan Sturgeon, 21st in this starting grid. 23rd for Wyatt Brackett. 29th for the 3 car of James Kunkel. It's a little bit better for Dakota Curtis, who started this race in 17th. Who's up to around 14th and 15th place right now. But certainly it's been a little scary being at the middle portion of the field. I guess it's best to call in this place the Hornet's Nest, like you would at most other places. And the 30 car way loose out of 4. He's going to let everybody by. We're 4 wide.
4 wide, Miranda on the bottom, Forrester, and then you got the number 4 and Parker Bland up top. Miranda trying to get it working down low, but crucially, Steven Stempian was able to clear it.
And they're still 3 wide. Miranda's going to make contact with Shoemaker, and they almost about wadded it up going on the back straightaway. They're going to push Parker Bland. The 31 is, at least, heading into turn 3. And this race has ultimately gotten more chippy as this 3rd stage has kicked off. You're still looking at the battle at around the mid-pack. As we'll look up front, Ross Harlow now under fire. The 12 of Peel is on his way.
Yeah, Peel officially hunted him down, and we got to remember, Lawson Peel has been hunting for that clean air all race long. However, he's been battling against Stempian and Miranda, a new challenger at the front. However, he's kind of licking his chops. He's got some old tires.
Yeah, that's true. That's a 9-lap difference on tires between these two, so Peel is probably going to make this an easy one. Going into turn 3 off the back straightaway. Peel underneath. He's got it into 3 and 4. So new race leader, the 12 of Peel. Harlow's going to stay in 2nd. Zach Wilson next up to to try and get around that 5 car as he's in the 3rd place. Let's look at the bottom right of your screen. The Iceman staying cool as always. Joey, back to turn 1.
Just cool, calm, collected in the front of this field, and you'll find drivers, sometimes they like to follow. Some drivers like the clean racetrack in front. Certainly seems like the number 12 tonight. He wants to be out front dictating how this race is going.
Oh, car sideways near the back of the field. That was Garrett Brown, driver 16. He, I believe, made contact with Aaron Adcock going down the back straightaway. He saves it, but he's going to drop back through the field. P20 now he stands. And here's a look at the replay. Bit of contact, and he saves it. But, Joey, that's not what you want to see if you're Garrett Brown. I mean, still fighting for his playoff life. Just a small mistake like that can take you out of this race.
Yeah, and in 20th place now for Garrett Brown, and we're already in stage 3. So, unfortunately, he's got to put the visor down and get to work.
And he does. And the 16, we'll keep an eye on him as he moves through this field. He is still a dead last in the playoff standings, but he is tied with Wyatt Brackett. Both of them not really faring the best over these first 2 stages here at Michigan. And now they're going to have to look forward to this last stint at around 40 laps as we're side by side near the back end of the top 15. Make that somewhat the top 16. As there's Aaron Adcock trying to fight ahead of the 13 Gary Sexton, Joseph Mohar, and Kip Easley going side by side. It seems like that has not settled out. There's Dakota Curtis, James Kunkel.
And Kenneth, while this is, I mean, somewhat calm, right? I want to bring something up, something we haven't even mentioned at all, the possibility of a green flag pit stop here in this final stage.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
Miranda
Miranda
sideways,
around.
turn 4. And the 14 gets into him. Miranda into the wall. And is that his championship hopes destroyed at lap 81?
This was one of the fastest drivers all night long, Mario Miranda. I'm noticing a little bit of contact with a non-playoff driver. Got up into the number 51 here, and I think that Mario Miranda is going to go show him a piece of his mind.
Well, what'd you say at the end of stage 2, Joe? You said the 51 and the 99. We may not see the end of it. We did not. And as Miranda goes to the inside, Wilson is having none of it. He wants the side draft to keep him from making that pass. Miranda goes sideways right in front of the pack, and here comes the 14, slamming him square on the front bumper. And Miranda has called it a night. He is towing into pit lane.
So unfortunate. I know it's extremely disappointing for Mario Miranda. If I'm looking at this from a race control incident, I really don't see anything wrong that the 51 did. It's just a shame that it's a non-playoff driver getting mixed up with a possible championship contender. But I don't necessarily see a fault or a wrongdoing.
You see here, that's Wilson. And Miranda goes right to his back bumper, showing his displeasure. I'm not sure if that really assessed any true damage to the 51. So he'll be able to continue without any aero damage. But that was it. For Mario Miranda, he has taken himself out of this race. And he will not see Homestead of Miami Speedway with a championship chance. And this season has unraveled in the worst way possible. I mean, think about the playoffs up until this point. A win at Nashville Super Speedway to get him into the next round, into the round of 12, and then stayed nicely inside the point standings up until this point. Then Richmond went awry, and that is where it ends tonight here from Michigan. Such a tough break for the Tulsa, Oklahoma native.
And honestly, I'm sure that if you talked to Zach Wilson right now, that was not a malicious intent. I'm sure he didn't mean to wreck Mario. And like I said, we'll move on. It is racing. The sun will come up tomorrow. We got a yellow flag. This will change up the strategy a little bit.
Yeah, we were talking about the potentiality of a long green flag run. It looks like that was a rather short run before we get to the maybe long green flag run that could still happen in the next 38 odd laps in this race. But we should get the lights off on the iRacing official pace car with Lawson Peel and Ross Harlow first and second in row number 1. And we just got word, Joey, that Race Control has had enough of Miranda. They have disqualified him for the session. So it doesn't matter. Miranda is not going to Homestead Miami Speedway with a chance at a Sunoco Cup Series title in 2023.
I understand the frustration. I get it. It's a little bit unfortunate to see, especially when you're in Mario Miranda's point of view. You think you got taken out. So I understand the frustration, but I do think Race Control acted appropriately for what happened afterwards.
Yeah, and it goes to that conversation of, if you're a non-playoff driver, how aggressively do you fight against those wanting the championship, and vice versa? Where is that line drawn between those two? How aggressively do you race, or how conservative do you race against those guys? Wilson is here for a win. He does not want anything more. He doesn't care about a championship because he's not running for it. And Miranda is, I mean, he's in a deep hole going into tonight's race. Those two different mindsets just started to clash at that point, as Wilson was trying to fight him hard for position. Like you said, Joe, I mean, I agree with you. Without any intent to wreck him out of the race, I just wanted to race him hard and race him clean and have a bit of fun here tonight. But for Miranda, his road to the championship is cut short, as we'll get ready for a restart at lap number 85 with around 36 laps to go from Brooklyn, Michigan, and it's Lawson Peel, defending champion, in control of the race. Ross Harlow outside row 1, Steven Stepien and Zach Wilson going to be giving the support in row number 2. Pace car is down. Lawson Peel has discretion. He hops on the gas pedal. We're back under green from Michigan.
And 3 cars pushing on the bottom lane. Not only is it Stempien pushing Peel, but Colin Forrester getting involved as well. Now they're going to separate a little bit as they enter turn 1. I'm really surprised. Look at the 5 of Ross Harlow hanging tough.
Well, Harlow's has the draft. The 31 of Forrester is going to help him just a bit. Never mind, he goes to the inside and gives support to the 81 car. So all the yellow bannered cars sticking together entering turn 3. The 96 of Austin Reedy not too far away either. 2 Fast Banana Chevrolets entering the top 5 as Harlow stays on the outside of Stepien for second.
Yeah, but Peel leads that restart to complete that first lap here. I'm really impressed with the number 5. We got to remember, Ross is still on those older tires compared to everybody around him. He seems to have hit that plateau. He's kind of equalized with everyone.
Yeah, and also Chris Shoemaker. Can't count him out either. He got loose out of turn 2. He might drop to 7th.
Hello.
Caution is out, though. Car sideways, and that is Gary Sexton, car 13.
This was coming up out of turn number 2. This involved Gary Sexton as well as the 54 of Brandon Banks. I believe it might have all been triggered by the number 26, but it was just a 3-wide situation coming up out of turn number 2. And when 3 go to 1, it usually doesn't work.
And when you merge all those lanes together, like a Miami highway, you know, nothing's really going to go right. 13 in the middle of 3-wide action as the 26 comes up the track. He gets into the 13, then tallies the 54. Then they get the 3 of James Kunkel. They'll get some more drivers in it as well. That's the 8 of Kip Easley, the 23 of Aaron Adcock. And it's our biggest wreck of the night from Michigan. They see a hard hit to the inside wall.
And I think, crucially, right now, this is your pit stop window, Kenneth. As we watch these replays, this is a whole lot of cars that got involved in that wreck. So not only are we going to see all of these cars come down and get damage fixed, but with the laps to go, I think this is your pit stop window time.
And if you can make it on this stint of fuel, I mean, it's going to matter. And also, I mean, you don't have the ability to take tires on this stop because obviously you want to save it for the very end of tonight's race. We'll see if anybody comes in. Some are flirting with the possibility of entering the pit lane. Zach Wilson is going to be one of the few takers. I think that's the 48 of Alex Muscarella behind him. Yes, it is. But Zach Wilson, what a spot inside the top 10, is in for service.
I think that these cars can make it a little bit further than I originally anticipated on, because you got to remember, stage 1 and 2, 35 laps. So with 33 laps to go, we know the cars can make it for sure from here. Everybody else, still a little bit of a question mark.
So they're going to be good on fuel. All those at front have the chance to save a bit of fuel, but that's still But like I said, big question mark to see if they can make it all the way to the checkered flag, and might also have to hope for a later yellow or some more cautions down the line. So this is going to be really interesting to see as well. I mean, you look at the 30, Wyatt Brackett, who's been struggling all night long as a playoff driver. He's in for service. He's come out, and he will rejoin this field in what appears to be 23rd place as one of those beneath the cut line and at the face of elimination here for Michigan. And it's going to be really tough to sort of decide, Joey, how this is going to all factor out, because if you got Ross Harlow equalized on these guys with tires, Lawson Peel looking to defend his win here and enter the championship for Colin Forrester looking to be a rookie to enter the championship for, and it is going to be insane as there's a look at Brackett, who's going to look to take this call and I believe take the risk here.
Well, with Brackett and Brown a little bit further down, I mean, Garrett is inside the top 10, so he's kind of hovering right there where he needs to. But I think this all now rests on Ross Harlow. Remember, he is the one below the cut line, but he's the one up in second place. Can the number 5 pull something off here in the final 32 laps to get his ticket to Miami?
Well, he's going to have to hope that he's done enough homework, he has enough execution at the end of this race to get to that championship round. Ross Harlow is a former champion in the Sunoco Cup Series. You can look all the way back to, I believe, season number 3 with the Gen 6 cars, where Harlow was able to steal the title away. His first win this season came at Richmond. He has not been able to see victory lane since, although he's had very fast Chevrolet Camaros week in and week out. That last puzzle piece has never been put together with the rest of the picture to give him a win. And tonight would be the most important. Give you all that momentum heading into South Florida as you chase for a championship. Lawson Peel is going to have the control, though, and he's going to get the help from the 81 of Steven Stempien, who I think now is going to be in a very interesting scenario, Joey, because he's got no teammates. Miranda was around him all race. Now he's out of the picture. Gary Sexton has been around him for a good amount of the race as well. He was involved in that caution, so now he's solo dolo.
Well, I agree with you. Yeah, maybe the portrait has changed a little bit. The landscape is different, but look at our top 4 cars. These are the 4 that are trying to make it to Miami. Lawson, Ross, Steven, and Colin. They're all trying to make it there. It's all a question mark for them.
I remember talking with the drivers in the Drop in the Hammer podcast a couple of weeks ago. A lot of them talked about these 4 at the front being the championship favorites. Lawson Peel, the defending title holder, is going to bring us to the restart zone. Green flag, restart with 31 laps to go.
Good launch from the number 12 on the top lane. That's the first time that we've seen the top lane really succeed on a restart. Stempien trying to get down low, but I tell you what, Ross Harlow held him up high.
And although he's got the older tires, he is still working it. He's going to get to second. They're going to let Peel run away for a moment. Stempien's going to try and strike back on the inside with a crossover of his own, but the help is not going to come his way. Entering turn 3, Stempien's going to stay down low, and they're going to remain single file. And the rest of the top 5, Stempien's got second, but can he hold on to it?
If you ask me if it's going to shape up, I think it's going to be a battle between Peel and Stempien at the end of this, but who is going to go up there and spoil that party?
That's true. We've got Forrester in the 31, the 96 of Austin Reedy. They're a pair of Fast Banana teammates. They're not going to go away without a fight. Chris Shoemaker back in P6, a non-playoff driver. James Kunkel, a non-playoff driver in 7th. Garrett Brown, Ray Rogers, Isaac Makaran, those in the top 10 that can still play a significant role in the ending of this race. James Kunkel is going to dive into turns 3 and 4. But look underneath Shoemaker, and it's not going to work. They're going to stay single file and just play team right now in the draft.
Yeah, and it's all about that top speed. I'm noticing Reedy getting a push. Harlow, ooh, with a big block, trying to keep Forrester behind him. I don't blame him. The pressure has got to be intense on Ross Harlow right now because where he's at is not good enough. He's got to go up there and beat all 3 of these guys he's racing with.
That's true, and if we get into a long green flag run, Harlow is going to need to come down pit road first because although he's topped off a couple of times, these guys are the drivers to come down pit road most recently. So Harlow has to keep that in mind, especially with how hard he races around these guys and where he places his Chevrolet Camaro. Garrett Brown has found his way to 7th. He's going to catch the draft off of the 4 of Chris Shoemaker, as the 12 of Lawson Field leads him to the line at around 28 laps to go, and Stepien is looking for a shot at the SpaceX Camaro, but I don't think he has enough help yet.
Oh, Harlow scoots to the outside, trying to make the momentum work, while Reedy had a good run through 1 and 2, but this actually helps out the number 5. He's back in the slipstream, back in the draft.
Yeah, but he is getting a lot of pressure from the 96 of Austin Reedy, and when we talked to him last Sunday after winning and advancing into the championship round with the win at Richmond Raceway on July 30th, he talked about helping his Fast Banana teammates get to the championship 4 with him. Those 2 drivers in question, the 31 of Colin Forrester, who is sitting 3rd right now, and Wyatt Brackett, who has somewhat struggled all night long. We'll look to the back of the pack. Look at this, Joey. 4 wide and 3 wide, 2 rows deep.
You can tell the hourglass, the time is running out. It's time to start making those moves. Let's get some positions.
Man, they are all over the place. I saw the timing screen jumping every which way, and you have to look back at this battle. Warren Kyle Keith on the inside of the 43, Sean Kalis, and the 20 of Justin Erb. He's going to get both of them out of turn 4. And boy, this has gotten really intense. You gotta be really scared, Joey, for any which one of these guys. And around this marker of the field, Alex Muscarella, Parker Bland, among those of SKM joining them.
And you got to remember that yellows, they tend to breed yellows, and when you have the pack this close together, the aggression levels, they continue to rise. I mentioned the mixing pot earlier. Is it going to boil over, and when is it going to happen?
And a mixing pot as well, because Alex Muscarella is the driver on what you would imagine the freshest tires and the most fuel contact in front, as they got all over the place. That was the 20 of Justin Erb making contact with the 46 of Joseph Mohar, and that's going to allow the 24 of Warren Kyle Keith to get by all of this. But what I was mentioning there was that Alex Muscarella is on 8-lap old tires. He's got the advantage over these guys, and the same can be said for Wyatt Brackett in the 30 car and some others. As here's a look at the replay of the contact.
Going down into turn number 3. Just up the racetrack a little bit. Thankfully, that did not end up being a big wreck, because look at that big pack of cars. There's about 5-10 cars right there.
Man, and with the speeds this high at Michigan, if you make that little mistake, we know what catastrophe could follow soon thereafter. But it looks like most of them settle it out. There's a look at Zach Wilson trying to fight hard with Gary Sexton. Looks like some of them making contact, trying to side draft each other. Entering turn 1, Wilson is not giving me up the fight. This is for 23rd on the racetrack.
And you got to remember, Wilson has been at the front of the field the majority of the night, and even Gary has been inside the top 10 throughout stage number 2. That's what happens when you get shuffled back on those pit stops. Got to work your way up through that dirty air.
Yeah, it's a punch in the gut when you lose all that track position, and then you realize how tough it is to pass cars, especially this evening. We've seen it so many times. You try to go on the inside, no luck. You try to go through the middle sometimes, no luck. You go on the outside, no luck. And as long as you have draft with you, then you can make passes, but for the most part, you're just following a train to get up to the front of the field. And you look at Ross Harlow in the 5. Boy, Joey, he has been trying his dearest to break these cars right in front of him, and he's going to get to the inside of Austin Reedy and Garrett Brown. But again, no help. There's no one down there. They're going to make contact.
And I don't blame Ross one bit. He's doing everything he can to try to hang on to his championship hopes right now. It's starting to get to be into desperation mode, but look at that. He's able to clear the 96 of Reedy off of turn number 4, keep his hopes alive.
And through the first 2 stages tonight, Joey, the one thing I noticed is that the gap from 4th to 5th in the playoff standings, it has significantly grown. Remember, we talked about the cut line battle prior to tonight's race. When we looked at the playoff grid, it was only 4 points between Steven Stepien and Ross Harlow. And if my math is correct, Colin Forrester has a 12-point advantage over Ross Harlow in the 5. So for Harlow, things are getting much tougher to overcome, and his hole is starting to grow as caution flag comes out. Chris Progar, sideways, turn 3.
Oh, yeah. Problems here for the number 7 car, stopped on the racetrack. Get a shot of exactly what happened, but I think that this is a little bit of a catch of the breath right now for drivers such as the number 5.
Yeah, for Harlow, he's going to have a chance to slow down his heart rate. As here's a look at the incident which happened between the 7 of Chris Progar and the 13 of Sexton, who we saw in a fight a little bit earlier on with Zach Wilson. And Wilson inevitably got in front of him. Chris Progar was making a similar pass on the outside. Sexton, who has been side drafting everyone. Obviously, in Michigan, a track like this, you need to side draft. This makes that minimal contact, and around the 7 goes. I think he missed the outside wall.
It's a lot like the earlier incidents that we saw of the side drafting gone wrong. And when you get a little bit too close, sometimes those cars, they seem to just kind of connect each other and you can't get them off.
And for Progar, this is the second time he gets into an incident tonight. And so that's a tough break for him as he's going to drop track position once more. But he is going to avoid damage, so that is the good news for the Fastenal Chevrolet. All right, here we go, Joey. Call for pit road by the leaders.
Yep. Everybody coming down pit road if you want the fresh stuff. I see Alex Muscarella stay out on the racetrack. No surprise there. He was hauling through the field, but now he's going to be the sitting duck. The final pit stop of the night. Hit your marks.
Oh, yeah, here we go. 19 laps to go when we cross the start-finish line. Dakota Curtis, Wyatt Brackett settle out the top 3 and then make it about 4 or 5 cars that are actually going to stay out here. As Colin Forrester, Ross Harlow, Lawson Peel, Garrett Brown, all those playoff drivers are in. We'll look at the 81 and the 12. Their battle settles out in favor of Stepien. He's going to break through. Forrester moves his way to second off pit road. What a stop.
That number 1 pit stall actually got him in front of Stepien. So look at that. The number 31, it's actually paid off a couple times for him today. About a 14-second pit stop. So not only is he getting the launch out, but his pit crew getting it done too.
Yeah, they have been stellar tonight. Man, that's randomized from iRacing. You don't have a manual pit road crews, so they just either get it done or they don't in enough time. And the 14-second stop is good enough to get Forrester to second out of the pit lane, but in turn is going to get him 6th place on the racetrack. And actually, I think he did beat Steven Stepien out of the pit lane, so that should be first out of pit road. And Stepien just gives him the position. And that is amazing stuff for the 31 of Colin Forrester, who's looking to become a rookie driver to enter the Season 6 Sunoco Cup Series Championship 4 at Homestead Miami Speedway. We'll try and talk with him for just a couple of moments before we get to this next green flag restart. And we'll bring him into the Podium Esports broadcast booth. Colin, what a race it's been tonight. I mean, you've been trying to hold on to your gap to that cut line for most of the night. It seems to be working in your favor. Final 18 laps of this race. What is it going to take to hold on to it, or even at best get a race win for Homestead Miami next week?
It's definitely going to take a lot here. Obviously, we've had 5 cars stay out, so they're going to be on older tires, and I just got to do my best to get around them as safe as possible. I don't want to be too aggressive just because that point situation, but obviously I don't want to be not aggressive enough to where Ross and all of them get past me. So it's definitely going to be passively aggressive here, and I'm going to try my best to get up to the front and hopefully make the last round and hopefully get that race win.
Trying to get the best of both worlds like Hannah Montana. I see you. And you have Wyatt Brackett in front of you, Austin Reedy behind you, your Fast Banana teammates also in the playoffs. Does that give you a little more insurance or a little more comfortability now that they're around you at the tail end of this race?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, Austin's been trying to help me the best he can. Wyatt's on a different alternative strategy here, and we're just trying to do our best. But still Michigan, still draft crazy, so it's going to be hectic here, but it should be a fun last 18, 19 laps.
All right, Colin, get your head down, get ready for work. 18 laps to go. We'll let you get back to it.
Appreciate it.
It's Colin Forrester, driver of the number 31, as he gets ready for a pivotal restart at the end of this Michigan 240. It's Alex Muscarella and Dakota Curtis. First time we see them share the front row all night long. They'll get into the Geico restart zone. They'll meet Barney the Flagman. We're underway once again, and Muscarella has the jump for turn 1.
Muscarella leads them on that top lane. Zach Wilson right behind with Colin Forrester giving push in that 3rd place position. Dakota Curtis on the bottom, but look at Wilson really dive it down to the bottom. He's going to take the lead going on to the back straightaway.
Wilson wasting no time. Muscarella with a crossover to the back straightaway. Forrester moves into third behind them. Dakota Curtis trying to play defense against Lawson Peel in the 12, who dives for turn 3. But the lead again in the hands of Muscarella as they're side by side for third.
And Forrester gets a killer run coming up out of 4. Is he going to push Wilson? Yes, he is. He's going to choose to stay to the top lane, carry the momentum, but it's Muscarella that hangs on to lead the first lap.
Biggest loser out of that restart, Wyatt Brackett in the 30 because he's getting trapped in P8 as Wilson way loose in a turn 2. He's going to try and keep the Camry straight, and he's going to be able to do so, but at the loss of track position, Forrester now into P2. Curtis looking for a run under Peel for third.
Dakota Curtis carrying the momentum, and I think that Muscarella is going to be a sitting duck. He washes way up the racetrack coming up out of 4, is able to carry some sort of speed, but Colin Forrester to the point.
It's a battle of old and new tires here in the waning laps from Michigan, side by side for the lead in a turn 1. Muscarella has the advantage.
I expect him to slide way up the racetrack. Oh, mega loose from the 48. He has to get way out of the gas to save it. That's going to be the lead back to Forrester.
And all the yellow bannered cars are making their way to the front. Defending champ Peel is right behind the Fast Banana Camaro of Forrester entering turns 3 and 4. Muscarella's doing all that he can to survive, but he's going to get trapped almost 3 wide. As Stepien falls back quite a bit. He's been struggling to break the top 3. How about Garrett Brown into 4th, this time by 15 to go.
Garrett Brown showing up at the party when he needs to. Steven Stepien giving chase. I'm also noticing the 30 of Wyatt Brackett showing up as well.
Now Wyatt Brackett in the 30, that Rocket League Chevrolet Camaro has been through a struggle all evening long, and he's looking for a turnaround. We're not sure if this is good enough to get him to the championship 4. Caution is out. Parker Bland among those involved. 3-car incident. Looks like Chris Shoemaker and Chris Progar.
Yeah, on the back straightaway here, I think I saw a Shoemaker still going full Ricky Bobby backwards in reverse there, but this is another one of these situations, a 3 wide going down the back straightaway. I just think this is a little bit of miscommunication, and then cars just tail wagging, tank slapping back and forth.
We'll look at it once more. Started on the back straightaway. Chris Shoemaker got into Parker Bland, put the 18 car into the outside wall and came back down into Logan Sturgeon. And the 19 of Brad Fulham, and it looks like the 7 of Chris Progar joins the party a little bit late, goes for the inside grass and gets the 4. Both of their trajectories just came together. Look at that hard hit.
Yeah, I was going to say, really unfortunate for Progar because he was actually on the brakes on the back straightaway, pointed straight. I think he actually got a little bit of help. That's what, turned him down to the inside. And like you mentioned, just the 2 trajectories, heavy impact.
Hardest hit for Chris Progar all night long. Here's a look from his perspective. So he'll see this happen in front of him. He'll slow down. Oh, just got tagged right at the end there. And as he hops over the grass right into the 4 car, that's where his damage comes from. And for Parker Bland, you see that UPS Camaro just going backwards. Not the first time we see Parker going into reverse and enjoying the show. And Parker's nice job of getting the car turned around. There it is. Look at the replay.
Nice J turn right there.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have we seen this from Parker? I mean, Parker's been on the iRacing page multiple times for a lot of drift stuff, for some rallycross stuff. I mean, he drove the Gen 6 car down the Mount Washington circuit that was added onto iRacing a couple of years back. She's rather gonna come on a pit road, but for the 30 of Wyatt Brackett, I think he has come in. Man, this race is blown open in terms of the proportions of all the drivers that are having a chance at the front, the playoff drivers, and everything in between. As Wyatt Brackett does end up pitting, it looks like he's going to be 22nd. So does Muscarella.
I don't blame him. Remember, they were on the older tires, and they were just kind of getting eaten up. This is their opportunity if they have new tires. I remember, didn't they only have 3 fresh sets stacked on pit road ready to go for this race? So I wonder if they do have another sticker set to go to.
Yeah, you're right. These drivers do have 3 extra sets. Obviously, with the one that they had to start this race, so it's 4 total, but 3 extra. And a lot of these drivers have pitted 3 or 4 times tonight. So It could have just been the last set for a bulk of this field, and I wondered if 2 tires could have been a possibility, but at this stage of the race, Joey, is it too late to try?
I think that's the dice roll, right? I think that 2 tires would be a good strategy call if the majority of the field pitted with you. It would give you that chance to leapfrog that track position. But I think in this specific situation, no, it'd probably be 4 or none.
Yeah, that's true. And so far, it's been 4 for everybody in this field. We haven't seen 2-tire calls at all tonight. So it's been a general consensus from the entire field, and we are doubling them up for a restart with 11 laps to go from Brooklyn, Michigan. Colin Forrester is looking for his first ever Sunoco Cup Series win. And that is a shocker to say, comparison to how he's performed all season long. It's felt like he's already had a win or more based on his performances. But every time he's up at the front, things have not gone his way. Forrester is looking to turn things around and get his biggest career win and to get him to the championship round. Lawson Peel, it's another day at the office. Points-wise, he should be safe to make it to next week's championship finale to go 2 in a row in terms of titles. Ross Harlow, he's the man, though, that we are watching if Colin Forrester nor Lawson Peel don't get to victory lane. He's been below the cut line for a bulk of this race. So has Garrett Brown in the 16, who will join him in row number 2. Eyes are on both of them as we get this green flag restart. You look at Steven Stempy, Ray Rogers behind them. I mean, they still also have a shot at this. So does everybody else in the top 10. It's a huge question mark as we get set to settle this race in the Irish Hills of Michigan. Pace car will make that left to pit road. Remember, it's 11 laps to go. And could we get a straight-up dash to the checkered flag? The 31 car waits for discretion into the restart zone. He hops on the gas pedal with a push from Harlow. We're back under green.
Dempian eager to get going, already on the back bumper of the 5, pushing him, but it's Forrester clear into turn number 1, dictating the pace.
The 31 has control. Harlow is trying his best to stay down there and get ahead of the 12, but he's going to be right up along the outside. He's into the wall on the back straightaway, and Stempien has found his way to 4th.
And Stempien's going to go up there and help Peel push him down the straightaway. I'm watching the number 5 car. If things are going to get desperate, it's going to come from Ross. Look at Stempien, 3 wide coming up out of 4.
What a crossover into the final 2 corners for Stempien, but the catch is he has absolutely no drafting help. We're still 3 wide for second, entering turn 1, and Garrett Brown is going to put his Javelin Ford Mustang in the mix. Forrester leads him, 10 laps to go.
Yeah, 10 to go here at Michigan. Who's going to come out? Oh, Harlow, way up the track. He just slid way up there. Door bangs Peel. I don't think the desperation is over. Remember, the number 5 has to go win this race.
That's a great point. Desperation is starting to kick in. That 5 and the 16, they stay below the cut line. At this point, they basically need a win if they want to make it to Homestead. The 5 stays underneath the 12, but he's got no help again, and Stempien is starting to fizzle out of the conversation. He's got help from Warren Kyle Keith.
Yeah, he's got the 24 pushing him. The other one is the 96 of Reedy. And what you said earlier, if he's going to be a team player, you got to watch out for what the 96 is doing. A little bit of a curveball out there.
Again, at Richmond Raceway, when he won his way into the Championship 4, he said he wanted to help his teammates. The 48 of Alex Muscarella sideways, and caution is out again. We'll have another restart.
I'm surprised at that yellow flag right there. That's going to bunch everybody up, and I mean, I'm excited now because this has just turned into a shootout.
Try and dial up the replay. It began with the number 48 of Muscarella, who at one point was near the front of the field with fresh tires. And while there were some cars that got sort of hicked up on the way there, the 10 of Curtis, the 20 of Justin Erb, looked like none of them had severe issues. And the caution just flies for this single car spin under the apron.
Like I said, I'm a little surprised the yellow flag did come out, considering, you know, really wasn't on the racing line per se. But, like I said, it just gets me excited. We're going to be going back to green with, what, about 4 or 5 laps to go, with the entire top 5 capable of making it inside to Miami. Who's going to get there?
Oh, man, that's a lot. It's It's a lot to decipher those drivers that are in this mix to get into Homestead. Ross Harlow performing out of his mind right now, but 5th may not be good enough if he wants to win a second Sunoco Cup Series championship. Garrett Brown is up in a 3rd, and while we've seen him shine before, he has not picked up a Sunoco Cup Series win since 2021. It has been almost a 2 full year distance between his win at Kentucky on October 17th to now, August 6, 2023. He wants this win. I have seen him get an all-star win before at iRacing Super Speedway, but we really haven't seen him picture a win into the equation in a very long time. And then there's Colin Forrester, the rookie driver, still looking for his first Sunoco Cup Series win in a sea of storylines. We haven't talked much about driver number 31, just because his situation was above the cut line, Joey. He felt like he had no pressure, but now the pressure's on, with only a couple of laps left and a checkered flag waiting for you at the start-finish line.
And you want to talk about fireworks and dangerous drivers. If Colin Forrester is a rookie here in this series and he goes out there and he wins today, can you imagine the momentum, the confidence that carries into the championship round? That's some dangerous speed.
Yeah, that's dangerous. And also, too, he will be the second Fast Banana car to enter the championship via a win. So not only is he going to carry that momentum into Homestead, his teammate Austin Reedy is also going to carry that momentum to Homestead, too, with his win at Richmond. So Fast Banana will have 50% of the championship 4, and that is really dangerous, too. When you think about Lawson Peel and you think about some of the other drivers, Ross Harlow, Steven Stempien, that are trying to point their way in, it's tough when you have 2 teammates that can work together through Homestead until the very end.
Agreed with you, but I think that there's one thing that we are forgetting about, and the racing god, he is always up there listening, watching every single lap out there on the racetrack. And if you get ahead of yourself and you say, I'm going to Miami, trust me, he will let you know. He will put you in your place.
Well, here we go. Restart with only a couple of laps remaining. Lights are off on the iRacing official pace car. We have one car rejoining the field. I'm going to try and see exactly who that is. I believe that is Justin Miller. No, it looks like Austin Shoemaker just came out of turn 2, so he's going to rejoin the field from 28th. He is the last car on the lead lap. And there he is, trying to pick up the pace of the rest of the field and make sure he has enough time to get the green flag with everybody else and try to get a better finish to this race. It is Colin Forrester at the front, which was the outside line for the restart. Lawson Peel on the inside of the front row. Austin Reedy on the outside of the second row, which is why you see that 31 car up top. Those two are going to work together. Garrett Brown is going to be 4th inside of the second row. Ray Rogers, who started tonight 25th with not that great of a qualifying time, has a chance at a phenomenal end to this race. Ross Harlow is P6, 7th to Warren Kyle Keith, 8th to Steven Stempien, 9th to Gary Sexton, and Zach Wilson rounds out the current top 10. Joey, your expectations for this restart?
I'm watching the number 5 and the number 16. Can they get it rolling on the bottom? And ultimately, it's the entire top 5. I'm expecting fireworks.
It's going to be chaos. We'll see if we end up in a green-white checkered territory as well. That door is very much still open. Pace car is down. That 31 gets to the gas pedal first, and we're back underway with around 5 laps to go.
Crucially, the 2 teammates linked together on the top lane. Peel can't even do anything going into turn 1. This couldn't have worked out any better for the first lap for Forrester.
Shades of Zero G working together earlier on in this race. When those two hooked up together, they were almost unstoppable, and it appears to be a mirror image, but this time with Fast Banana Camaros instead of Zero G Ford Mustangs. That's Wyatt Brackett at the very bottom of the racetrack. He saves it, and we're staying green.
Stempien all the way down low, trying to make up some ground. He's going to suffer down the front straightaway. It is all Colin Forrester being pushed by Austin Reedy. Is Lawson Peel, does he have the speed to go up there and make a challenge?
Right now, he's going to stay single file, and he's going to get up to the top side and grab a bit of clean air. He wants to run out of turn 2, and in fact, he wants a crossover to the back straightaway. Not sure if he's going to get it, but at this point, Joey Atterbury, the desperation is kicking in for Harlow and Brown. They need to be pinpoint accurate in their positioning for the last 3 or so laps in this race.
And really, Garrett Brown has kind of been the quiet contender out of it all. He hasn't ruffled any feathers. Ross Harlow's been the one that's gone up there, made his intention really known. And right now, both of the cars, they're falling back a little bit from Lawson Peel.
Yeah, they are, but is that an effort to get a big run later in this race? They're probably just kind of hanging back until the moment where they can strike Peel with a little bit of a slower corner in 1 and 2, but he's going to get the draft off the 96. Most of the field single file will cross the line next time by for 2 laps to go. Peel's got a big run, but he's not going to do anything with it as we're almost 3 wide at the back half of the top 20.
Lawson Peel, he's okay. He doesn't necessarily need to win this race to go to Miami. However, you gotta feel for him. He's been battling a pair of teammates all day long. No matter which one he's looking at, he's going up against 2.
Oh, look at that push from the 5 of Harlow to the 12 of Peel. It shuffled him out of line, and the 12 has no option but to fight for second. Reedy's going to have the momentum, and is that the ploy that Ross Harlow needed to shuffle the defending champ out of line? It's going to work entering turn 3.
Ross Harlow trying to pick off a spot. He's going to go way down low, shove the 96 up top. Does the teammate hold up Harlow? The 31 sees the white flag.
Colin Forrester gets a look at the white flag from Michigan. We're side by side for second. Make that 3 wide for the position. For a slight moment, the 24 of Warren, Kyle Keith. Make that the 3rd car on the top. The 31. 1 more lap to go.
Entering from the middle of the racetrack, it's all up to Ross Harlow. Can he clear Reedy down the back straightaway? This is all up to Colin Forrester to lose.
And as long as they stay side by side, Forrester has this in the bag. He is trying to be a team player here. Final opportunity for Harlow. He'll send it into turns 3 and 4, but it will not be enough to break the defense of the 31. Book the ticket to Homestead. The rookie, Colin Forrester, will get an opportunity at a Sunoco Cup Series championship.
Oh, what a way to close out the championship for the rookie. Teammates going to Homestead.
Ross Harlow finishes second. And as of the moment, it looks like that will not be enough to advance him in the next round. Colin Forrester gets his first career Sunoco Cup Series win. And this is a look at the end of it, Joey. You can say that Austin Reedy did a great job of holding Ross Harlow back. He tried his hardest in 3 and 4. But the pack just followed that 31 car to the checker.
Well, I think crucially, Colin needs to go find his teammate, the number 96 Austin Reedy, and go give him a high five, say thank you very much, because I think it ultimately came down to the 96 battling the 5. That's what gave the 31 the win.
Reedy is going to be on that Christmas card list for sure. Oh, Colin Forrester burns it down from Michigan and brings you tonight's Sunoco winning moment. More high-performance racing engines rely on Sunoco race fuels than all others combined. And for over 50 years, Sunoco has been fueling the top race car drivers around the world with high-quality performance fuels they can trust to power them to the checkered flag. Sunoco, fueling victories from track to tank. After a long while, Colin Forrester wins his first Sunoco Cup Series race and is onwards to Homestead at Miami Speedway to contend for a title as he brings it into the Michigan victory lane. What a way to end it when the victory lane is right there along the front straightaway. Colin Forrester with a great win. He's got help from his teammate Austin Reedy, but that 31 did all the hard work and it paid off. He's going to Homestead of Miami. We'll take a short break. Post-race coverage will come your way next here from Michigan.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller. Yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search, That's how I do it.
There is Max Papis in the Ferrari. As great a race as Ferrari has ever performed.
The steering wheel for me has always been a sensitive spot. There's a whole experience there that we're all trying to refine. Max Pappas, he asked me one day, he says, what can I do at a wheel? I said, well, with the new.
What got into you? At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
A showstopper from Michigan results in Colin Forster getting his first ever Sunoco Cup Series win, pushing him to Homestead Miami Speedway with a chance at a 2023 championship. Let's take a look at the unofficial results of the Michigan 240. Colin Forster gets the win for Fast Banana. Ross Harlow, who tried his hardest to get around Forster in the last couple of corners, it did not prove to be enough, but Harlow with a second place finish. Not sure if that will actually be sufficient to get him into the championship on points. Austin Reedy in the 96 might have been the most pivotal driver in those last couple of laps. Helped Forster pull away and kept Harlow at bay and finished in P3. Garrett Brown in the 16 also pretty deep in the point standings. Not sure if this fourth place finish will also be enough to get him to the next round. Steven Stempion in the 81 stage wins to begin the night. Ends up in a fifth place finish at the checkered. Lawson Peel got shuffled out of line near the end of the race, and he finishes exactly where he started, as position number 6. Ray Rogers, one of the biggest movers all night long, from 25th to 7th. The Toyota Camry for Redline Racing comes home in that 11th spot. 12th, or the 7th. 8th will go to Warren Kyle Keith. 9th to the 47 of Isaac Mock. And Gary Sexton in the 13. Joey Atterbury rounds out the top 10.
And then comes up 11th place, which is James Kunkel in that number 3 car, coming to life really late in the race, up 18 positions. Aaron Adcock finishes 12th place. Sean Kalist here in 13th. Alex Muscarella with a late race charge had to end up coming down, getting those fresh tires, which ended up putting him back to 14th place at the end. Joseph Maher here in 15th. Bill Schoonover 16th, Kip Easley in 17th, Chris Shoemaker in the number 4. He had a good run late in the race as well, spent some time inside the top 5, finishes in 18th, and then the number 51 had that brush up with Mario Miranda earlier on, finishes in 19th, and Parker Bland rounding out your top 20.
Grant Fulham in the 19 car comes home in 21st. Justin Erb will settle for a 22nd finishing position. Dakota Curtis is 23rd. Travis Stevens back in 24th. Wyatt Brackett had a problem near the end of the race. He will be eliminated from playoff contention as he finishes in 25th place. Logan Sturgeon, the 26 car, comes home in 26th place. Austin Shoemaker behind him in 27th. And Shoemaker is the last car to finish on the lead lap. 4 laps down will be Chris Progar in 28th, Justin Miller 29th, Brandon Banks to round out your top 30, and then there are the 5 drivers to end tonight's field. Curtis Kelly in 31st, Richard Swavely in 32nd, 33rd to Charles Phelps, 34th to Jesse Whittington, and rounding out the 35 car field from Michigan, the 99 of Mario Miranda got disqualified after making contact with Zach Wilson under caution, showing his displeasure. He will also be eliminated from a Sunoco Cup Series championship. So that's your full result from Michigan International Speedway. Let's take a moment to head to Victory Lane and talk with your winner for the first time in his career, Colin Forster. I imagine, Colin, this was very much long overdue. Many races, week in and week out, where you've had a chance at the front at the end of the race, chance at the win, washed away every single time. Tonight, though, is the difference. You get your first career win, and you are heading to Homestead Miami Speedway with a championship spot. in your hands. What does that feel like for you?
Man, I don't even know if I could put it into words. I definitely just really want to thank Lawson and Reedy there for helping me there at the end. I mean, I know Reedy and Lawson had multiple opportunities to try and pass me, but they were just helping me there at the end, and really, really do appreciate them too, and because they definitely could have made that a lot harder for me. And I appreciate Ross for not overdriving the corner and racing me or moving me up the track. I know he had the opportunity to, and I know he was definitely thinking about it because I mean, championship race on the line. But man, it was just a super fun race. Man, I don't know. I don't really have words for it. Super fun race, really hard race. I mean, there's a bunch of battles, super hard to pass. I mean, with all the runs, the outside was dominant, but you can still try and make moves on the inside. I mean, Ross had that inside rolling there down at that last few laps. But man, I really can't put it into words, and we're racing for a championship.
You and Austin Reedy are going to occupy 2 spots in that championship for both for the Fast Banana group. Talk about how important Austin Reedy was on the last couple of restarts and especially that run to the finish as he was right behind you in second place.
I mean, yeah, he was definitely super key, and he was a great teammate there. Like I said, he had multiple opportunities to try and pass me, him and Lawson both, but they just stuck with me, and I was just able to pull out just enough where Ross wasn't able to send it as hard as he could. And man, I mean, I can't really put it into words. It's just, I mean, I really appreciate Reedy and Lawson so much because they definitely could have made that so much more harder for me, and it was a lot of fun though.
You get your first win in your Sunoco Cup Series career after a very long time. And we'd said that you've been knocking on the door. As some drivers in the Drop in the Hammer podcast also said that that win was coming at some point, and it finally does. What's your form of celebration? We have to know. Is there something that you're going to do right after you get off for this race to celebrate, either with your teammates or by yourself or whoever?
Man, I said before this race to Curtis, I had ice cream in the freezer waiting for me.
All
Just
right.
I was either there to sit in my sorrows or to cheer on me my victory. So luckily, cheering on victory, and we're racing for a championship now.
It's got a championship taste to it. I can imagine when you get to that ice cream right after this interview is all said and done. But now we move forward. Homestead, Miami, final race of the season. Now that you've got the win off your back and you're locked in, what does your mind go from there in the preparation towards that last race?
Man, definitely gonna have to run a lot of practice laps this week. Definitely gonna run hard. A lot of practice laps this week. I know Lawson is super good at Homestead. He likes those tracks where it's a little tight, using the right front, and he's just super good at it. So definitely gonna have my work cut out for me with Lawson, and then Stimp being super good there too, and Reedy. I mean, all of us are good there. It's just going to be who's the best. And I know Lawson. I have a bunch of races with Lawson there, and he's been super dominant in every time. And man, it's definitely going to be a battle. But I'm up to the challenge, and I'm gonna try my hardest, and we're gonna try to do it.
It's a big accomplishment when you can say in your first ever Sunoco Cup Series season, you're going to the final round. Big win here from Michigan International Speedway. On behalf of our entire broadcast crew, congratulations on the win, and we'll see you at Homestead next week in the shop for a championship.
All right, appreciate it, Kenneth.
Go get that ice cream.
I am.
Colin Forrester, the winner here from Michigan International Speedway. Joey Atterbury will bring you with the second place finisher here tonight, and that is the number 5 of Ross Harlow, spun earlier in this race, came all the way back for a top 3.
Well, Ross, I know that we've talked to you a few times here tonight. Coming home second place, it's got to be a little bit bittersweet, though.
Yeah, yeah, that one sucks. That's probably the worst I've felt after a second place. I mean, it was a hell of a race. Hell of a move at the end. I thought about the car was hooked down on the bottom, but if I tried to get to his quarter panel, I was wrecking Colin there, and I'm not going to race like that. Busted ass tonight. Can't thank all my teammates enough. All the sponsors and TVP, G&G's Gift, Team Watson Racing Setups, Millie Mermaids Trove, Mom, Dad, little brother. Of course, my fiance. It's always great coming home P2, but yeah, just that second stage. I hate racing for stage points, and it kind of just all blew up there. But got what we could out of it. Made the best run I could out of it.
Well, Ross, I know that you made your intent known on the racetrack. You were fighting for the lead the whole time. In stage two, there, you mentioned you got shuffled back a little bit, kind of lost a bunch of track position. You got onto an alternate strategy. What was your mindset there? Because, I mean, you were battling with cars that were around you on way fresher tires, and you hung it in there how you needed to.
Yeah, I mean, it really seemed like it was more of a temperature issue with these tires tonight as far as the fall off went. Did some testing before the race, throughout the week, and just kind of played with some stuff, and it really seemed like, within 5 or 10 laps, they'd be pretty equal, especially after a couple of heat cycles. If you just didn't overdo it. So, the car felt good. I feel like I probably could have fought Lawson a little harder there for the lead. But I was still pretty short on fuel. It was like 3 laps short, so I really needed to save everything I could. So I figured I'd just get in line behind him and let it ride. And just every now and again you get that big run here. It's so deceiving because the car is so air dependent. You get out in the clean air, and suddenly it's like you're throwing a parachute out behind you. Especially coming off the bottom when you got 5, 6 car freight train up top. So it's fun racing. It was good racing, but just came up short tonight.
Yeah, like I said, I know it's a little bit bittersweet for you. Going into Homestead, though, maybe since you don't necessarily have that championship pressure on you, how is your approach there?
Oh, I mean, we just got to go for it, right? Homestead's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite tracks on the sim as far as the big stuff goes. I always have a good time there. We're gonna send it. We're gonna try some stuff. Maybe see if something we work with, we play with this, tonight or next week. We can carry into the next season and use it there. But yeah, I mean, go for broke, right? It's win or go home at that point.
Well, you got to draw back. You won at Richmond. You made it all the way to the top 8 here in the championship. I know it's a second place, bittersweet today, but congrats on the championship run and the second place today.
Yeah, thanks, man, and thanks to all you guys up at with Podium Esports. You put on a hell of a show. Thank you to the whole Sunoco Cup Series admins, and congrats to all of the Final Four, especially Colin. I mean, those guys are in the hell out of it. This is easily the tightest and toughest championship battle I've seen since I've been with the Sunoco Cup Series, and I'm just proud and excited to have been able to play a part in it this season.
Well, that was Ross Harlow, an immense competitor and a clean one at that, coming home second today.
Ross Harlow with a great finish, second place here at the Irish Hills. We'll talk to the driver who comes home in third, and that is the 96 of Austin Reedian. Well, Austin, you had the relaxation of running this race knowing you were locked into the championship. I imagine the tensions were so high as you were trying to defend against Ross Harlow and everybody else to get your teammate to the win.
Yeah, I was just trying to do my part on the team. Just I knew wasn't a winning situation, but it's I would feel so bad if I try to ever pass and then he not make it. So I just figured following him was our best bet there. And I said that last week. I'm gonna try to help the boys out as much as we can, and I think we did that tonight.
Yeah, you certainly did. And Colin was talking about how great you were for sticking with him in those last couple of laps, and especially the side by side, you and Ross Harlow. It helped that 31 pull away just a little bit more to get him to the checkered flag. But let's talk about your race in particular. You started in 33rd, and you started on pit road. Despite that 33rd qualifying position, where you started that race with the connectivity issues, and then you found your way to the front little by little. What was that like, and how did that affect you mentally over the course of tonight's race to ultimately come up with this finish?
It was definitely interesting. Our power flickered when we took we were on our hot lap, and the power flickered, came back on thankfully very quickly, and got back in the session to roll out when they took the green. So the first stage was kind of just me sitting there, seeing how the car felt in clean air, which didn't really help because we were in so much dirty air all night. But I think we restarted in 33rd start of that second stage, and we were chopping through it pretty quick. I think we got up to around 20th, and then I realized that the bottom was not good, and it was so hard to pass. I would pass 2 or 3 cars going into the corner, and then get passed by the same 2 or 3 cars exiting the corner. So that point I knew I just had to try to pass people on the top when I got the chance, or when somebody got hung out, and just slowly work my way up there. Starting on the outside was always a really good benefit. It was so hard to do anything other than restarting on the bottom in turn 1 and 2. After that, it's just so tough. But the arrow here is so weird with these cars. As long as you're just in the draft, you're gonna be fast. So it was definitely interesting. I'm curious to see if that's how Homestead's going to race. I know Homestead's a little bit different of a track, but it's still one of those intermediate 2-milers. So we'll have to see.
And you talked about Homestead there. Now we'll focus on that race for the championship next Sunday. What's your preparation going to look like mentally or just virtually on the track with practice laps? How is your preparation going to look like going to your chance at a championship in a week's time?
We're gonna have to try to put some laps in this week. Hopefully not be stuck in the hotel until Sunday. But practicing on the rig in there stinks. But we're gonna try to have fun with it and just see what we need to do. See what tires gonna be like in the long run, which I think is gonna matter a lot more there. I think last race this season, and then comparing to night, we're gonna have those longer runs, and just like we haven't had those in the playoffs yet. So tonight was a good change, but I think we're gonna have to practice those long runs. Just have fun with it. Maybe practice pitting under green. You never know what's gonna happen, but I don't know. We'll just do what we do every week and come in with a good mindset, knowing that we have a chance to win it all. It's our second chance going at it, so we'll have to see what happens, and have a good mindset all week.
Well, Championship 4 fight awaits you next Sunday night at Homestead in Miami. Austin, a great third-place finish here from Michigan. We congratulate you on the end of this race and the position that you ran in all the way to the checkered. And, of course, best of luck for the championship race next Sunday. We'll see you there.
All right, I'll see you, man.
So that is Austin Reedy for Fast Banana. Him and his teammate Colin Forster are going to be going for a title. And Joey, you said it in the broadcast chat, and I think I agree with you 100%. How different are the team orders going to be next week? I think it's going to be work together until those last couple of laps, and they're going to go guns blazing for the Sunoco Cup Series title. Well, so far, Dakota Curtis has not given us official word on the 4 that have made it to the championship. We know that the 2, Forrester and Reedy, are in, but as for the ones that are looking to point their way in, Joey, we're not sure exactly who those drivers are, but right now calculations on my end say Stempian and Lawson Peel with their performances tonight. But we go to Homestead in Miami after Michigan. Man, that is going to be a huge transition, especially for those running for the title.
Yeah, different transition to a different racetrack, a low grip racetrack at that, but it all comes down to it. You've done 19 races so far, 1 to go. Who's going to settle it out for the championship? And Kenneth, I agree with you with everybody's attitudes helping each other here today. What's going to be the attitude? How is going to be the preparation of each one of these drivers when it comes to fending for themselves?
It's all going to come down to Homestead. That comes your way next Sunday, August 13th. You can find the coverage right here on the twitch.tv/Podium Esports channel, and the coverage will begin at 9 p.m. Eastern as we bring you all of the storylines and the championship decider from South Florida. But that would do it for our coverage of the Michigan 240 from the Michigan International Speedway. A huge congratulations to Colin Forrester on his first ever Sunoco Cup Series win as we head into Homestead with 4 drivers looking for the title. For Dakota Curtis and all the admins at the Sunoco Cup Series, and a big thank you to all of those at Podium Esports, for Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore, and for those working on the broadcast tonight, for our producer Bradley Cooper, our camera creator Dougie Beard, and for my colleague in the booth Joey Atterbury, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying goodnight from Michigan. Homestead Miami Speedway decides the champion next Sunday night. We'll see you there.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller. Yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build. Got it. Yesterday. I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha.
Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
There is Max Papis in the Ferrari. As great a race as Ferrari has ever seen.
The steering wheel for me has always been a sensitive spot. There's a whole experience there that we're all trying to refine. Max Pappas, he asked me one day, he said, what can I do in a wheel? I said, well, with the new